Hey, y'all. Welcome to Ask a Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and this is my first interview with a distinguished guest. His name is Dr. Will James. So if you can, please get in the chat, y'all, and let us know that you're in the building. Tell him welcome as my first guest. This is a great honor. He's a leading urban educator, a school building leader, an author, a cultural intellectual. Welcome, Mr. Dr. Will James. What's going on, man?
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I see you. We see you. Da 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 da. Yes, I see you. Still don't hear you. Da 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 da. We're all good to go. And slowly but surely, we're going to start having people coming in. So if you are in the chat, if you could please give us some give us some comments, let us know that you're here. Don't forget to hit that super chat button to show some love to the great doctor. And feel free. I may even split the donations with him based on what type of fire and stuff he's going to be cooking tonight. I'm going to have some interesting questions I'm going to throw at him, and he's going to have some interesting ones to throw back at me. But for starters, man, how's things been going with you? What's going on in life in general?
Things have been going well. Been just working on some things, being a role model in the community, fundraising. It's about to be back to school, so coming up with things, money, funds for kids, giving back, anything to help the community. So that's been what's been going on mostly recently.
Nice. So I actually came across your content a while ago on a variety of different platforms. Some of you may even recognize Dr. James from him being on a series of different podcasts, including Jesse Peterson. And what were some of the notable podcasts that you've been on that people can find you on?
I was on the Jesse Lee Peterson podcast, The Full and State. I was on the Daily Wrap Up Crew podcast. I was on Ian Bick's podcast called Locked In. I was on Eight at the Table. One of the most notable ones I was on It's Given podcast with Dr. Sarah Fontenot.
I saw that whole one. That was one of my favorite interviews you've done, man.
Yeah. I'm probably missing like one and two, but yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, perfect. And just to let all of you know that's slowly starting to come in, Dr. Will is actually about to really start hitting the podcast scene much. He's going to go start seeing a lot more of him. So I felt like I should kind of get ahead of the curve with getting ahead before I can't get him on my chat, get him on my platform. So welcome everybody as you're coming in. Feel free to let us know if you're in. And if you have any particular questions that you want me to ask the educator while he's in here, make sure you type it in the chat. Ideally, if you want me to see it, add it to the super chat, hit the $sign and do $2 or $3 and then ask your question. And I'll make sure to prioritize asking and showing it when it's time to display it. All right, so we're going to get underway so that we don't hold you super long. We know that you're a very busy individual. So one of the initial questions I've been kind of thinking and wondering for quite some time is, do you obviously with me, with the stuff that's been posting, I've been going viral. It seems like everything I'm saying is controversial, even down to the discussions about women and how they're approaching relationships with men. And one of the questions I've been wondering, and you can tell me your thoughts about this, do you think most women know what love is?
Most, I would say that, women know what love is, but I don't think they know what it is to the same capacity that men do. I would say when we look at the definition of love, depending on what, we're looking at it right now in a relationship form, and, having a strong affection for someone with an emotional connection. Most of the time, women have a connection to a man based off what he can provide. And usually that provision is usually financial. So with a number attached, they don't love like men do, because men can, love a woman with no finances attached to it, and not based on what, she can provide for him. We see that when a woman can have, an income of $30 million annually, and then they will want a man who makes $30 million or more. So, a man who has $30 million, he will take a woman who's working the drive-through at Wendy's, and he like her based off her character. It's not really the same thing for women. Women will be drawn to a man who has $30 million with low character. So I think men have a better understanding of what love is.
Wow. So just to clarify, you're basically saying you think they do know what love is, but primarily it's more so based on conditions relating to finances.
Perfectly summarized, yes.
Dang. Do you think that's all women or some? Or most?
That have the finances attached? Most. That's most. Not all, but most. The vast majority.
I wonder if that's more age specific though. Like when women are younger, like a lot of times when we're talking about hypergamy and women's standards changing over time, and you mentioned the whole example, if she makes a certain amount of money, she now expects that man to make a certain amount of money. I almost feel like when women are younger, a lot, not always, but a lot of them, their standards are actually really, really low financially. And they'll have the guy sleeping on the couch with them or driving their car. And, they clearly love this dude that they're allowing to have access to all of these things. But over time, they kind of get tired of that. They get burnt out from it. And then before you know it, like each time they leave the relationship with the guy that they did love, where it was less maybe transactional, now they do have those conditional transactional expectations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't even think that's love. When they're young like that, I just think that that's when it's more of, the intimacy and them being confused by that. So a lot of times people get confused when sex comes into a relationship too quickly and that person hits that spot. So now you're drawn and you're attracted to that. So you let them do whatever they want to do, but it isn't really love that you're attracted to. You're just attracted to whatever is happening sexually. So that's
So what age then would you say, if they're too young at that point to know what love is, what age would you say that they would start to figure out what love is?
It varies depending on the person. You can know what love is at a young age, depending on the intellect and experiences of the person. But most of these young women, I've seen it when I was in high school. They're young. This person took their womanhood, not they would take their womanhood, but you know what I'm saying. They took their virginity. They took their virginity, and now they're just, that's the first person that they allowed to do that is something very sacred, which is a bit different for when a man loses his virginity because we don't have a telling factor really biologically that says that we lost our virginity like they do. So allowing someone to be the first one to enter is very significant. It's different than it is for a man. So a lot of times they get hooked on those first 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 partners differently than a man would. And they just feel strongly about it because I think it's more attached to how they feel inside. Like, oh, I let you do this. You were the first one to do this. Even if they hate the man's guts, now they're drawn to him because he was the first, second, third. It was an early connection. Not really love, just the physical connection, and now the emotions attached to it. And one of them doesn't have to be love. It's just like the fact that they let that person do that, enter. Now they're like, oh, I'm gonna keep you around. I'll do whatever I have to do to keep you around. And then that man knows he has her by a string at that point, and so he may just be taking advantage of it. Yeah, give me your car keys. I'll sleep on your couch. I'll do whatever I want to do. But later in life, like you said, those same women, now the man got to make all this extra money for no reason. And that's what Kevin Samuels often spoke about. If you didn't have this requirement for the first couple of men, how do you now increase your requirements after you have a higher body count, after you're getting older, after you're doing all of these different things that lower your SMV, that lower your overall number, your sexual marketplace value? How are you now increasing your expectations? So they make these mistakes because oftentimes these same women who allow these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men to enter, they usually get what? They end up pregnant. Now there's a baby there. He's a piece of crap. You knew he was a piece of crap, but you were drawn to stupid things. You were drawn to his popularity. He was the popular kid in school. He had the fly kicks. He had a nice belt, nice shirt, whatever it was. And you didn't even, women do that a lot. I've seen women not even like a man, but they start liking the man when they found out other women like the man.
The pre-mate selection kind of thing. I've definitely heard about that. Wanting the men that other women want. When I think about that question that I asked about whether or not they actually know what love is, I kind of agree with you that I think a lot of them probably don't. But I do think that what they're actually associating with love is, I think that women know about the positive emotions associated with love. The passion, the happiness, the excitement, the feeling elated. I think that aspect of love is their thing. Like they can tap into that and they know it when they feel it, right? Like that's something I've noted where I feel like they are attracted and drawn to the positive aspects or feelings or emotions connected to quote unquote love. But how would and then also I think that they're in my head anyway, based on observation and seeing the statistics relating to how often they initiate breakups and divorces, I think that they don't always see I think they see love as, they struggle with seeing love as something that they both receive and simultaneously are supposed to show. Right? Like I think their view of love is often like this, where they're constantly wanting to feel and get certain things in terms of words, in terms of actions. They want to constantly be reminded that they are loved. And even when they do try to show it, they'll often struggle with projecting what in their head is how they show love onto the man. When that may not be the thing that makes them feel connected. How would you define love?
I would define love as a strong affection for someone based off their character, without financial gain or ulterior motives being considered.
If you remove the financial part, can can anybody actually love a man?
There's some women, yes, there are some women who are with a man and it's not related to his money.
Okay. I would probably define it, and I actually mentioned this recently when I met with Fresh on Fresh and Fit podcast, that love is the ongoing decision to serve, to nurture, to protect, and to provide. And I think that when you remove any of those things, that, think about it, like when people constantly talk about that they loved or love, like I think love is
say that again, because you only described men.
Oh, sorry. So
with that definition, I don't see a woman can love.
Oh, yeah. That's half and half. Sorry. That definition fits to, half of it fits to women and half of it fits primarily from the traditional sense to men. So the half that I'm talking about is the serving and nurturing part.
Okay.
Love is the ongoing decision for women. Love is the ongoing decision to serve and to nurture.
Okay.
And I think women that don't do that aren't able to show love. And I think if you remove either of those, would you believe that she loves you? Would you feel like she loves you? If a woman wasn't willing to be nurturing to you, or if she wasn't willing to serve you,
no,
particularly as a husband or a leader,
absolutely
then how could she possibly love you? So that, and then on the flip side, if a man didn't want to protect you, or if he didn't want to provide for you when he had the capacity to, most women would acknowledge he doesn't love me. So for me, and then the ongoing decision to keep doing that. That's not a moment, it's a verb. Right. So that for me is like, I think that's how I kind of would define it. And you're right, man. I think it's very, very rare to find people. Oh, Stuart Knight in there. He put love is a sacrifice. Yes, sir. That's it right there. Where That term sacrifice to me covers the serving, nurturing, protecting, and provision elements. Where if you're not willing to sacrifice, you're not going to be able to do those things consistently, if at all. So yeah, that was I liked your answer to that, man. That was definitely something pretty interesting and cool.
Like
Zodiac sign.
it's like someone said, it's like I don't think love can't be transactional. It's like, yo, I love
Mhm,
you if you do this. Yeah, if
mhm,
you pay my rent, I love
mhm,
you. If you buy me these shoes, I love you. Many women say that without
mhm,
realizing that they're saying that when they say, "Oh, I need a man that make 250,000 a year."
mhm,
So you already
mhm.
leading with that you don't love him. He got to
Yeah,
make this
yeah.
much money.
And
So
then what happens if he has a down year? If he makes
exactly,
half that, you gonna give him half love?
exactly.
Right. So yeah, man, you might be onto something. So we're gonna pivot. Zodiac signs. What do you think about the women who use zodiac signs to eliminate or choose men while dating, in your, humble and professional opinion?
I think the woman who use zodiac signs to date,
Mhm.
I think it's a mental illness. You know,
You gonna get my channel demonetized. I just got monetized a month ago.
no, all
Oh
right,
man.
I'm being funny,
Ah,
obviously,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
but it's not rooted in, anything objective. It's not
Mhm,
logical. It
mhm,
makes no sense. And you
mhm,
often hear this from women who say that they want a man of God. So how do you want a man
mm,
of God? You want a man who's rooted in his Bible, and then you bring up something that's like anti-biblical. That's not in biblical scripture to use that to find someone to date or anything like that.
mhm, mhm,
And I've seen women who really like they take this to heart. They take it like real seriously. And I
mhm,
spoke about it in my first book. So there are women who look up to men like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
mhm,
and he's a Capricorn. And they'll say, oh, like, look, he's a good man and look what he did. He was fighting for his people. He was intelligent. He was a good orator, all of
mhm.
these things. But then there's people like Charles Ng, who is also a Capricorn, but he was a serial killer. So
Yeah.
you're going to let
So
your
so which
perception or your
sign
view,
so which sign mattered for which man?
yeah. So you're going to let your perception of the zodiac sign, you're going to let your perception of Charles Ng being a Capricorn make you miss out on your Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The man you look up to, the men you look up to, you aspire to be with, you
Mm,
like them until you hear their zodiac sign. That doesn't
right.
make any sense. I've literally heard women,
Mhm,
and you'll talk to a woman and you'll say everything will be going fine, and I often lie to them the first time they ask me. You'll talk to a woman and she'll say, "Oh, yeah, you're cool. We have a lot in common. What's your zodiac sign?" I'll say
mhm.
Leo. I knew it. I knew you was a Leo. Actually, I'm not a Leo.
Somebody
But
said,
since you fell for that,
what'd he say? Women are all about crystals, dream catchers, and zodiac signs. Total foolishness. Oh man. I'm gonna tell you this, and although you said it facetiously as a joke about it's kind of a mental illness, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it is associated with less intelligence and some slight trait signs of some mental conditions. I actually do. And I know people are gonna say like, "Oh, Jeff, you just trying to be controversial." All right, let me go to a study that I found that confirmed what I had already suspected about a year or two ago. The psych.org, they had a study that showed that people who believe in astrology tend to be less intelligent and more narcissistic. And they did an assessment, and they did an abbreviated version of the Belief in Astrology Inventory Assessment, which was created by a pair of researchers, Rivera and I think it's Virgili University, back in 2006. And they also added a short IQ test. And then they recruited 264 English speaking adults using Facebook to take on their questionnaires. And the researchers found that those people who professed a belief in the powers of astrology tended to score higher than average on narcissistic measurements and also did poorly on the IQ test.
right,
Now, when I was saying this out loud prior to me ever hearing and knowing about this study, people would freak out on me and just say I'm so crazy. But think of the ideology and philosophical approach that a person who thinks this way has to have. individuals who have to believe that something outside of themselves significantly dictates and shapes everything other than just, let's say, God. But now you're talking about inanimate objects or stars or moons or all this other stuff. My view is that the individuals who are less likely to take accountability for the decisions and choices that they make in life are less likely to be linear logical thinkers. They're always, because the person who's going to be a linear logical thinker is constantly weighing the pros and cons of the decisions that they're going to make. And then when they make these drastic moves and decisions, they're primarily basing it off of emotion. And because they feel like they can base it off of emotion, they always have a justification to not point it back to themselves. So an individual who thinks that way, who moves that way, who cuts on and off people without any real significant other factors, like, have you been through trauma? How many relationships have you been in? What's your track record? What's your previous track record historically, relationally? And you think about these things over and over. I'm like, when I hear that, I see less in my head, I see less intelligent. When I hear that, I think less accountable.
Right.
Off the rip, off the rip. So it's the equivalent of you talking to a woman, and when you talk about, oh, your last handful of relationships, what went wrong, and she can only point to all her exes being wrong. They're all narcissists. She's the narcissist.
Exactly.
Right. So that's me, where it's like personal accountability and narcissistic traits and a lower IQ. I used to just think it and feel it. And then I found an article that came out in 2021 who confirmed and actually had data to reflect that point.
Oh, I talked about this in my first book. They did a
Mhm.
research study where they had people who, were believers in zodiac signs and stuff like this. They read
Mhm.
them a generic horoscope, right?
Ah.
They
Mhm.
made them, they read them like, two or three
Mhm.
horoscopes. They had a generic one, and then they had like one that was for their real sign and another one.
Mhm. Mhm.
Most of the people agreed with the generic horoscope because it fed into their ego. And when it described them,
Mhm.
it even placed their negative trait in a positive form. So it would
Mhm.
read like this: You are a giving person, you're kind, uh,
Mhm.
you're trustworthy, people can depend on you.
Mhm.
However, your only problem is you love too hard and you're often blinded by it. So you see how it just framed their negative trait as still a positive? You love too
Yeah.
hard. So they
Yeah.
were always like, yes, that's me. And it was a generic horoscope. It wasn't for any sign.
Mhm.
So
They're
that's the
usually
problem.
written, man, they're usually written in such a way to where it's like a fortune cookie. You
Yeah.
can you can make it fit.
Hmm.
You can make it make sense in your life if you just kind of squint hard enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very fascinating to see how the lengths to where people they'll base major life decisions. You know what? This is, to me, it's no different than the iPhone Android people. Oh, you got an Android? Oh, I
Yeah.
can date you.
Yeah.
Oh, you got, huh? Like what? Like there's chicks that literally cannot be in relationships with men because they don't have this certain type of phone.
Ridiculous. So materialistic and just so it's ridiculous. And
Bro, when I
what about all the other variables that make someone who they are?
they
Your
can't get to that
culture,
point.
your background, where you're born, where
Nah,
you're from,
nah.
your socioeconomic status. Did
Uh-huh.
you grow up in a single parent household, parent household? What country are you from?
Mhm.
What are your customs? What are your beliefs? What's your religious background?
Mhm.
Um, what was your experience growing up? Did you go through traumatic experiences? Did you lose someone? What
Mhm.
about all of those experiences that make
Mhm.
someone who they are? So you're willing to. So that means you're telling me, because then people like to dig deep and they like to try to look at the natal chart. So
Yep.
you're telling me, if you take me, Dr. James, and I was born on September 3rd in Queens, New York. You take an Asian man who was born September 3rd, Queens, New York, same day, same exact time as me. But he moved after he was born. He
Mhm.
moved to Asia, grew up in
Mhm.
Asia with an extremely wealthy family, both parents, all of that. We have the exact same natal chart, though.
Mm.
We're supposed to be exactly alike in terms of characteristics. Do you think that would be the case though? When we grow up in two total different experiences, lived experiences, cultural background, everything. Yeah, we may have a couple things in common, but anyone can. That doesn't make sense.
Damien reported wanting a God-fearing man, but ignore all the men in the church. Make sure y'all put those emojis in there if you haven't done so, especially those of you guys who are members. Welcome those of you, again, for those who have come in the last 15 minutes. This is Dr. Will James. He's a renowned urban educator. He's an author. He's a cultural analyst when it comes to just analyzing these types of discussions and helping us to kind of get back on track when it comes to common sense. If you haven't, please like this chat. Make sure you share those emojis and hit that $ if you would like to donate a couple dollars. Every dollar counts as we try to build up this channel and platform. Since I've been in this space, or since people have started to learn of my existence over the last 2 months, I've been hearing the comparisons, which is wild, but I'm honored of myself to Kevin Samuels. A, have you heard that in comparison to me at all? And then B, what do you think about Kevin Samuels in terms of like him and the advice he was giving women?
I've seen some comments related to it, and I think they've compared it to me to him. Mm-hmm. Anytime a man is now speaking about, the dating scene and delusional women and unrealistic expectations, because he was, he grew so, quickly, mm-hmm. and that's what he was known for. Since his passing, now anyone who comes behind with a similar talking point is compared to him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I see the comparisons. I see similarities in your talking points, and when it comes as it pertains to dating and what he did on his show, I absolutely agree with. Like, he wasn't wrong, and then he actually gave women the chance to come on the show and express, what they disagreed with. He allowed them to confront him. Some people got on his delivery. I don't see anything wrong with his delivery. He was always talking to grown women. They were calling in. He would ask them, "What's your age?" He's checking first. And then he would say, like, you 20? Maybe too young to have this discussion. Very, responsible of him to do that. But then just going over with them their life choices and then thinking about what makes sense. How old are you? Do you have kids? How tall are you? What's your dress size? How much do you want a man to make? Okay. And then now when you think about this, and you would hear, anyone who has a brain, when you hear a woman who is 5'3", 250 pounds, has 3 kids, now saying her next man has to make at least $150,000, that makes no sense. So yeah. What do you want him to do? And I do believe that they took him out for that. Yep.
Took him out for what specifically, though?
For the shift that he was making in the culture, when he was on a nightly basis having Black women come on the show, and he was holding them accountable, and everyone can see, oh, this is the level of delusion that's out there. Nightly basis, you got 3 to 5, 10 women come on in the show, and you see the delusion. You're like, dang, this is what Black men are up against in the dating market. And it was causing a shift, holding women accountable. And I think that shift that he was causing, because it was eventually going to cause people to look in the mirror and say, all right, we got to cut it out. And other women were beginning to hold other women accountable. They don't want that to happen. So the powers that be will eliminate that.
Wow. Yeah, it's a scary sight to kind of believe that, there's entities out there that when you're trying to help people, they feel like for whatever reason that you're now a threat when you're just trying to do the right thing, it seems. Muhammad, thank you for the $5. We greatly appreciate it. That means me and the great doctor will split
we
that
gotta
right
be
now.
So yeah, we gotta be careful too.
Yeah. So make sure y'all hit those super chats. If you haven't, hit the $, and just feel free to give $2 to $3 if you can. And we're going to continue on. So in terms of, and my thoughts about him is, I actually thought that he was actually an excellent psychoanalyst. Just because you're somebody isn't a licensed clinician or psychologist or psychiatrist doesn't mean that they can't analyze society. They can't see what's working and what's not working. They can see what's worked in the past and
Mhm.
make recommendations based off the information. I think a lot of us can do that. And he looked at what the things that worked in the past in terms of tradition, even imperfectly, and that it seems like we have worse outcomes in almost every major statistical every major statistical category that matters, especially in terms of family unity and social cohesion. So yeah, his style was a little no different than mine, of course. And
Mhm.
I peeped that the main thing I noted was the amount of women that cheered when that man died.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. And I think in hindsight, and it was definitely a lot of our own women that were the main ones cheering.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they ever truly reflected on how those of us who saw him and liked a lot of the truth that he was sharing, how
Mhm.
we saw how they felt about him and how they cheered once he was gone. I don't think they know how we see what they're capable of now when they hear something they don't like.
Mhm.
So just interesting. I don't know, just a random assessment. What did you think when you saw that with people like cheering and being happy that he was gone?
I thought it was disgusting because, like, what did he do other than ruffle your feathers because the truth hurt, the truth stung?
Mhm,
You never
mhm,
saw it from happily married women. You always saw it from
mhm,
women who, they were 30 plus, 40 plus years old,
mhm.
single, out there,
Mhm.
single mothers, or, just scorn women who were, mad because the truth hurts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the saying? Only a hit dog will holler.
Yeah,
I always felt like it was the women who the things he was saying that they knew would impact their ability to get the type of man that they want. They were the main ones that were like the happiest when he was gone.
right.
So sad to see, sad to see. Oh, we have another super chat. Inspired Truth Broadcast. Thank you for the 199. We greatly appreciate the donation. Make sure y'all hit that like button and feel free to continue commenting. Make sure as we're coming along that y'all ask some interesting questions. If you want me to ask the great doctor. All right, so let's continue on and switch up. What would you say men are more systematically oppressed in America than women?
Absolutely. I think that could easily be proven when we look at like the court systems.
Mm,
97% of the time, men pay alimony. Um, Only 20% of the time are men awarded as custodial parents. There's so many things that we could look at in the criminal justice system. Men get sentenced to higher jail time or prison sentences for the same crime as women. Men are more likely to be put on death row than women. Um, Men get pulled over more,
mhm,
and even when they get pulled over, men are more likely to get a ticket than women
mhm,
for
mhm,
both doing the same thing, like driving at a high speed.
mm,
We see the with homelessness. There's
mhm,
more homeless shelters pertaining to specifically only for women than men. There's so many different things when you look at it now.
mhm.
It's it's oppressive to men rather than women.
Wow, wow. Yeah, man. I kind of agree in the sense of the more I reflect, I think with men there's more workplace death amongst men. I think there's a burden of proof when it comes to having to provide, and that being a condition to in terms of your value in society. False allegations. If the saying is "believe all women," then that means by default you start off guilty until proven innocent, right? Yeah. So I think the more and more that I've reflected on this over the last few years, and I think Kevin Samuels and others in the manosphere space, and just different people who are advocates for true equality, they're starting to acknowledge that men don't have it as easy as maybe society makes it out to be, and maybe oppression kind of has its own unique challenges for both sexes.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, when I watch some of your content, man, you've referenced that that you feel like women would prefer to be mothers more than they want to be wives? Tell me more.
You see, I think it's a new trend now that woman just, I think it's a part of like a baddie package. You you go get a BBL done and then you have a kid by some random, scammer who is not doing anything in life productive. And then you just live as a single mother. Uh as a part of your baddie package, you have your child with you. They
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of being married and having someone, but they don't like the duties and what comes along with it. They want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to maybe have a wedding one day, have a bachelorette party. They like the Cinderella story of losing the glass slipper and then their prince or their knight in shining armor coming to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, they don't want the duties and everything that comes with it. They just want the fancy wedding ring. They want the fancy expensive wedding, and then 3 to 5 years later, they're divorced with a kid. And the
Mm-hmm.
research shows that the more money you spend on a wedding ring, or the more money you spend on a wedding, the more likely you are to get a divorce. And I
Wow.
think that's what a lot of them are after, rather than actually the duties of a wife.
Yeah, man. It's sad to say, but it's like become so common that it's like we talk about often now in our particular community, especially that we just have more baby showers than weddings. Period. And it's become so normalized where it's like, of course, the birth of a child should be celebrated and should be welcomed. It's not the child's fault, of course. Um, but for whatever reason, man, it's gotten and interestingly enough, because more women are having more kids than men, um, in terms of percentage ratio. So it's definitely clear that it seems like for a lot of women, they're even stating out loud that they feel it's more of a risk to get married than it is to have a child. I've heard them say this out loud, which is very, very interesting. One of these for sure, you're definitely putting your life at risk. And then the other is like, well, I mean, I don't want to say if it's a 50-50 shot of a man going to try to take your life, but I don't think the odds are that high.
Mm.
So it's interesting to see that we have such a lowered view of men and the role and need for men in life, and especially in order to raise a life. It's sad to see, and I think I don't know. I'm starting to realize that I think it's the rejection of the terms and things that we associate with what it means to be a wife, like helpmate, submission, sacrifice, hierarchy, leadership, duties. These are just things that they've been kind of propagandized and indoctrinated to believe are all oppressive in nature, versus an agreement for two people to come together and for it to work. So when you've been functionally taught and conditioned that being a wife is functionally signing up to be a slave, now it's just not appealing to them anymore. So it's unfortunate to realize like that's for many people and for many women, that's how they now see it.
Yeah, that was a part of the agenda to make them see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they get more benefits from marriage than we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know for sure they get more benefits from divorce than we do.
Yeah.
I know that I've definitely listened to women's words and perspectives of feeling though in the confines within marriage, um, there's a lot of sacrifices that are being made from their lens. They
What
they do they do believe that if they're both working, that responsibilities aren't shared in such a way where they feel like a lot of women will express it where they feel like they're functionally having to raise another child in the home. And they just feel like, they can't do it all. And I don't know if they ever really made the connection between so many of them being in the workforce and the
Mhm.
wages being stagnated so that the man can't afford enough for them to be able to not work.
Yeah.
They be like, well, I'm working too. I'm like, well, if enough of y'all stop working again, I envision the wages would have to go up to pay for the homes, because that's kind of how it was in the past. They don't really see that connection. So many of them are working. So many of them have bills, not even to factor in, you're not coming in from your father's home with no debt and saying, all right, dad, now I'm ready for this man. You're coming with student loan debt. You're coming with a car note. You're coming with a lifestyle and expectations. You're coming with comparing and contrasting what he's able to present with what you've seen on social media and what your girlfriends are able to experience. They're bringing all of that in, and now also expecting this man to also shoulder and do the exact same thing as well. So I definitely think it's unfair for them in some ways, and it seems like, when you've been conditioned to think all the things that's necessary for it to work, especially when you're saying you want a leader, you want a high earning income man, and then you don't want to be a helpmate, you don't want to be submissive, but you want him to be a leader. You want him to work himself to the bone, but you don't want to sacrifice. It's just, you're debating about whether or not you want to make him a plate. It's like, it's I really hope that their perspectives will change before it's too late, because the trends are so bad that it'll get to a point to where they're they're going to buy a dog and die alone, like Kevin Samuel said.
With all
Or
that, with all that being said, do you
yeah,
think a man should marry a woman who won't agree to a prenuptial agreement?
um, huh? I'm not upset at it. I'm not upset from the female part, only because it's not normalized enough in society for us to have the expectation that she's being reasonable if she says no. I do think that if it became more normalized, where more and more men started to do that and condition that on the basis of them getting married, regardless of their financial status and background. Well, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, was OnlyFans normalized on people's social media pages, right above the pictures with them and their kids. Now it is. So I can imagine in the future, what happens if men collectively was like, you know what, we are going to value marriage, but these are going to be the conditions. I, I wouldn't be mad at it. Thank you, Private Nobody, for your gift. Greetings, my friend, and Dr. James. I thank you for your time and your efforts. We appreciate your donation. And then we have one more super chat from Stuart. Thank you, Stuart, for the kind gift. We greatly appreciate it. All these gifts y'all giving, man. Your boy about to retire if y'all keep this up. So, so yeah, man. I do think that it would make sense if more and more men start doing that, especially in regards to what's been happening in the environment over the last 20, 30 years. Yeah, I think it needs to become more normalized for men universally to strongly consider prenuptial agreement, and women. And believe it or not, I actually think this is a two-way street. I think men and women need to start coming into it through the lens of what they're bringing into it, what they're leaving out of it, and that they're going to be, potentially more in support of that from both sides. I also think and feel the same way about a paternity test. I
Ooh.
think, yeah, I think that if both of those things, I'm gonna tell you, ladies, the cheat code. In an environment where more and more men are getting scared to get the wrong woman pregnant, and more men are getting scared to marry the wrong woman, you want to know how you're gonna stand out? Initiating both those things. If the woman who initiates both those things and makes it known that she's comfortable with signing those things, he's now naturally going to see her different than all the other women that won't. So if you you're going to stand out from the other competition. If you think about the things that are a concern for men, that's showing that you're looking beyond your needs and your wants, but his. And the man that you do that with, the prenuptial agreement can be a whole host of things that you get both in and after the relationship. That's the agreement part. So, I think that women need to start re-looking at it and not looking at it as an attack, but potentially something that can be beneficial from both sides. Prenuptial agreements don't just mean that she's not going to get anything. It's all about what the agreement is going to be before we combine our assets. That's effectively it. Yeah. So this question, man, I've been sitting on this for a minute. Women who act ratchet and do nothing else versus the women who act ratchet but have obtained degrees and have great jobs. How do you feel about both of them? And what are your thoughts about the women who have like the higher education and credentials who are still acting and displaying the same things on social media? What are your thoughts about that?
So I have a wide base of followers and just people that I know, and I
Mhm.
see people online, different women that I know. Some of them have, like you said, they've amassed success, degrees. They got, some of them have businesses, all different career paths, doctors, lawyers, nurses,
Mhm.
uh entrepreneurs. Um, there are women like that who you see their online presence and you wouldn't think they've amassed what they have because they don't carry themselves that way. They carry themselves ghetto or ratchet,
Mhm. Mhm.
like in a way that, you know, a man of prestige wouldn't want their women to carry themselves online. You know, they'll
Mhm.
see them at a club or somewhere on a beach or a yacht and they're twerking and they're posting it or they're half naked.
Mhm.
uh I view that the same way I view the woman who is just in the hood and she smokes, you know, takes drugs and she's twerking in her living room. I view it the
Mhm.
same way. Like, I think a woman
Mhm.
should carry herself with a certain amount of elegance, grace, class,
Mhm.
um, in person, in the public eye. You know,
Mhm.
I take my public image very seriously, being a role model and being a voice for my community.
Mhm.
Um, and I think anyone who views themselves in a certain life should, you know, consider how they carry themselves in public.
Mm. Yeah, man. It's tough in the sense that because it's become so normalized, and I've realized now, especially with having a child and getting married and really thinking about the image, the brand, and the type of man I want to become. More and more, I'm starting to lean more your way. I didn't, but in the past, I think I didn't care nearly as much. And now as I've gotten older, and I'm realizing what that image is of a single black woman is doing and how that's a reflection of how society and culture and the world is seeing us. It's no different from a male lens of the ways in which we can dress and display ourselves when it comes to the gangster lifestyle and the hood stuff, like where the most negative aspects of our culture are the things that's most celebrated and defended. And what's interesting is whenever people kind of try to critique it in certain spaces and places, it's not the people who are making our image look bad that gets attacked. It's the people who's trying to critique that and say, like, this is a problem. And they say, stop judging, stop trying to be white. And I'm like, why are y'all equating class with white? Like, am I trying? I don't even look at it through the lens of like elitism. I'm like, basic decorum. Like we can't have an agreement on basic decorum of whether or not, like, Cardi B is a great example of that, man, where it was like you saw women defending her in regards to her situation with Offset, where they found out she's pregnant and cheating on him. This man is going. This man is going. This other man is going inside of her, putting a dent in his baby head, and you are defending her. And I'm like, again and again and again, it's like we've been conditioned where it's like the worst aspects of culture we've been conditioned to defend and hold on to. And the people who point to the things that we need to improve on, they're the social pariah. It's mind numbing,
They
man.
were defending what's that girl? What's that lady name? What's the actress name? The one that was at the Usher concert, naked, like half
Kiki
naked.
Palmer.
Kiki Palmer. They
Kiki.
were defending her when her baby father, when he came out and was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be out there," and he was like, "Yeah, that's the mother of
Mhm,
my child." He had a point.
mhm,
What she was wearing wasn't Usher concert appropriate in the public eye, turning around like
mhm,
that. You know, if you the mother of my child, I wouldn't want you out there looking like that. But then there was a whole bunch of people that came at him and was like,
mhm.
"Oh, you know, you're just jealous. Let her do her things. It's harmless." And like you said, there that's what we're talking about. That basic common understanding of what decorum looks like and what's appropriate. You
Yeah,
know, there's
yeah.
some people who get it and some people who don't get it. And I
Mhm,
hold both sides accountable.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
why I included myself. I'm a man. If there's a man and you call yourself a professional, you shouldn't be,
Mhm.
you know, posting pictures, sticking your middle finger up. You out there,
Yeah.
you getting drunk and you filming yourself and you doing all
Mhm,
this stuff. It's like you gotta be alert and aware and conscious of your
mhm.
public image of how
Yeah,
you present yourself to the world. You know,
yeah, yeah.
regardless.
And in hindsight, I think about in my 20s at different points when I was reflecting that. And now as I'm getting older, and it's one of the weird things where a lot of people, some people get it sooner than others. And then as others, it's like when you hit certain milestones in your age and in life, you start to reflect and realize like, I don't, it was fun at that time, but now in hindsight, that's not who I want to be known for the next 30 years. And then there's people that's just digging in, man. AJ was my guy. He put people are defending Sha'Carri Richardson after she assaulted her boyfriend. And yeah, man, I've noticed this trend where the sisterhood is strong, man. And I'm like, when y'all stick together, it's often only sticking together for the most negative behaviors. I'm like, why don't y'all stick together to tell her to stay with her man and keep her family together? Why don't why don't y'all stick together to point out when she keying that man car and tell her she wrong for doing so? Right?
That's
Like
that's another example of the systemic oppression men face and the unfairness that men face.
mm-hmm,
If it was her boyfriend, Christopher Coleman, who had did what Sha'Carri Richardson did,
mm-hmm,
all of his endorsements and all of that, those would have been scraped clean already. She's still getting promoted by, I believe it's Nike, one of her endorsements or whatever. All of her
mm-hmm,
endorsement deals, none of them have been dropped. She's still being promoted. She was able to race the next day. All of these things. When you've seen men,
mm-hmm,
when a man does that, I remember the NFL player Ray Rice. He was in the elevator with his girlfriend or
mm-hmm,
fiance, I think. And I don't support that. He should have
mm-hmm.
got his consequence.
Yeah,
But it should be fair because no one should be putting their hands on anyone.
correct.
Like that's just simple because
Correct.
I'm a martial arts instructor. I promote self-defense. If you're
Mm-hmm,
a grown adult and you choose to put your hand on another person,
mm-hmm,
they have a right to defend themselves. Don't think just because a man is bigger and stronger than you
mm-hmm.
can beat on them. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. and ladies, equal rights, equal lefts. So be mindful of that. Franquicia Moss writes, should hospitals be held liable to accurate paternity, being that the child is a new patient and not a mother's plus one? Do they have a duty to provide proper care to all, regardless of how they came? I'm not sure exactly what that question is asking, but if you're asking who's financially responsible for health insurance. So next, none of you are in politics. That's an interesting comment. I think we all are in politics, whether we want to or not. What should a person reveal in a relationship?
In a relationship, I think a person should reveal. Firstly, they should reveal anything that's asked and be truthful and honest about it. I
Mm,
think if you have a foundation built on lies, then you have nothing.
mhm,
You can't have true love if it's built on falsehoods.
mhm,
But I think they should reveal anything that they would want to know if they would want it exposed to them. I think
mhm,
they should reveal anything that could be a potential problem. So, like,
mhm,
uh,
mhm,
one thing that I say, if I've come across this before. If you were dating a woman and she had she was in a relationship or she not in a relationship, but she just messed with a coworker prior to meeting you,
mhm,
now y'all dating or in a relationship, I think that person should reveal that information to you to be completely transparent and honest about who
mhm,
they see on a daily basis. So if there's any nugget that could cause like potential harm to a relationship if it is
mhm,
found out later, you should let that be known. Um and definitely anything that's asked. Certain things, you may not come out and just share.
mhm,
Uh, but if there's any trauma or certain things like that, or
mhm,
potential triggers, that should be revealed. And you're not going to tell the person all of that right, up front. You got to
mhm,
get to know a person. But at
mhm.
some point before you decide to get serious with a person, they should know serious information.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a spectrum of what people deem as serious, and
Well, objectively, there's
yeah,
certain things like I would need to know your health. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I would need to know your health records.
Mhm, mhm,
Do you have a criminal past? Have
mhm.
you ever been abusive? Have you been abused? Those
Yeah, I
are
agree with
certain things that I would want to know. Like,
that.
don't think I'm gonna ask those. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
have you done? SA work? How do I say it?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, have you done, sexual work, or,
Well,
have
that's
you
interesting. So that's interesting because in I think my most recent episode or whatever about when I was talking to the ladies, a big talking point is them being told, being taught, and being conditioned to be able to say back to men that the past doesn't matter, and they're kind of holding to it. So relatedly, we can skip ahead to a question I've been wanting to ask: does body count matter?
Body count absolutely matters. It's a
Uh-oh.
fact that body count matters when there's data that shows that women who have a body count over 5 or 10 are more likely to get a divorce. I believe it's 30% more likely. If it may be higher than that, but I know it's at least 30% more likely. They
Mhm,
did a study, I believe it was with FEU. They did a family study that showed when women, admitted to a certain body count,
mhm,
they were more likely to get a divorce. So
mhm, mhm,
objectively, it matters. Just then, on a common sense basis, it matters because women who are more promiscuous usually have a background when they have been SA'd. So then
mhm,
that's going to matter. And then you could just look at other things about, if you want to get more spiritual soul ties and stuff. But then if a woman just has had more sexual experience, that's going to bring more expectations on each new partner. If this
mhm,
person
mhm,
hit the spot this way, you're now looking for this person to hit the spot the same way.
mhm,
There's more expectation, so you're just going to be looking for more. So it
mhm,
absolutely matters. It also points to character
mhm.
because it's real easy for a woman to get a high body count. It's not like men. You could get an average woman who could easily go out there and sleep with 100 men.
Mhm,
Um, and it just points to, what's going on mentally, how she sees herself, because no self-respecting person is going to go out there and continuously increase their body count. So how
mhm,
long did this go on? It also depends on how the body count is achieved. Like
mhm.
a
Yeah.
woman could tell me she had 3 partners,
Mhm.
and okay, if I found out all 3 were at one time,
Oh. Choo choo.
you're canceled. Like, how that points to your character and where you were,
Mm.
what was going on. Were you
Mhm,
okay? Was there
mhm,
drugs involved? This is so
mhm,
many things to look at when you look at a body count in a situation. So, um, like it's just
mhm,
crazy. And I actually had a talk with someone recently,
mhm,
and they said this person said that they view a high body count
mhm,
the same way they view someone who watches a lot of porn.
mm,
So this person, it was a female, and
mhm,
she was saying, I can't wait to post this clip and show her. She
mhm,
said that a woman who she views a woman who has watched like 100 corn videos the
mhm.
same way she views a woman who has a body count of 100.
How are those the same?
She
How?
says that's what she says.
Whoa.
I
Whoa.
told She agreed with me. She agreed with
Uh-huh.
me because I had this discussion with her. She agreed with me when I said men don't view it that way. If
Mhm,
we know a woman who has watched 100 corn videos, but her body count is 1,
mhm,
opposed to a woman who has, never watched corn, but her body count is 100, we would take the
mhm.
woman easily who has 1 partner.
Easily, easily.
So because even if the person's watching a lot of corn, it takes self-control and some
Mhm,
sense of self-respect to say, I'm not going out there and giving this away.
mhm.
So
So
both of the yeah,
Q and commented, "Yep, both have the ability to desensitize, but unfortunately, that's not the only differences or similarities. Like, there's a few other additional things that are at
yeah,
play in terms of trauma, in terms of STDs, in terms of it impacting their ability to pair bond. You do know that there's some also differences with the. That's funny, man.
yeah, because I told her,
Um,
like, on a biblical level, yeah, they're both sinful, they're wrong,
mhm,
stuff like that. And,
mhm.
there's something going on there, like if the person is drawn to it. But the person going out there and actively engaging in the act, and
Yeah.
especially from a female's perspective,
Mhm.
because there is more of a sense of, danger when you go
Yep.
out there. And are you having these one night stands? How well you know the people? You can't know them that well
Mhm.
because it ain't that much time in a year.
Yeah.
or how is this accumulating?
Uh-huh.
If, like, because if you did one per year,
Mm-hmm.
I mean one a month, that's 12 in a year.
Yeah.
So if you get to 100, you did this over the course of like what, 9 years, 8 years. So
She was dedicated.
if and that's one a month. So how well do you get to know a guy in a month? And so you know what I'm saying? You gotta
Mhm.
think of this stuff.
Abdullah writes, "Are you a real doctor and do you have a PhD?"
Yes, my doctorate is in educational leadership from St. John's University. I got that in 2018. St. John's University, located in Queens, New York. And I have evidence on my Instagram at Dr. Will James on Instagram. I have my graduation. I wrote my dissertation, Black and White and 11th and 12th grade students' perception of social studies curricula in New York State public schools. That is on JSTOR and EBSCO. You can look me up. Yes, I am official.
Yeah, everybody's credentials are apparently being questioned now behind microphones. So it's good that you were able to have a solid, straightforward answer from the beginning.
I'm gonna do a video one day of me going to my school.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go to my college and I'm gonna go to the bursar office and
Wow.
get and like on the campus, because I got all my certificates
Mhm.
and stuff like that. You can't really question it when you could look me up, and if you could look any person's dissertation up in the school's library. So
Mhm.
St.
Mhm.
John's University, my dissertation is in the library.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Legend in the building herself, the Crimson Cure. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the gift. We greatly appreciate it, sis. I'm gonna be following up with you pretty soon. Y'all, we're gonna have something real special with Crimson Cure and another podcast, another big podcaster in the space. So stay tuned to that announcement. Thank you, Crimson, for that. In regards to the body count mattering, let's say majority of men, it matters. But if the majority or a huge percentage of women won't be honest about it, how will you know?
You're gonna know in the woman's character. They
Mm,
can't hide it. It comes out over time. Like if they
mhm,
start off hiding it, oh, if they're dishonest about it, it comes out over time, and they say little things that sneak out. So, if you have a discussion and they've told you a number and you have intellect, you're
mhm,
gonna notice when things don't add up. So if a woman tells you, say, my body count is 8, and you be like, well, how many boyfriends have you had? Oh, they say 4. All right, so you say 4 of them wasn't a boyfriend. Okay, cool. Then, then over time,
deductive reasoning.
yeah. So then you'd be like, oh, so you're willing to sleep with someone who's not your boyfriend. Okay. And then
Mhm,
over time, throughout your relationship dealing with the person, and they say, oh, I remember this one time when this happened. You'd be like, oh, which person was that?
mhm,
Oh, it was one of the other 4. Okay, okay. And then you slowly start paying attention to certain things.
mhm,
You see, you talk to them. Oh, I
mhm.
used to always go to Miami when I was younger. It's
Mm,
little slick things that when we piece
mm,
things together, you be like, oh, who'd you go with? Oh,
mhm,
I used to always go with my sister. And
mhm,
that was a hot spot for you? Yeah. Why?
mhm,
Oh, it was
mhm.
just fun, have drinks and party. And oh, so you like to party.
Yeah,
So they could lie,
yeah,
but if
yeah,
you
yeah.
have your intellect and
Mhm.
you have common sense, you're not giving 8-ish vibes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
a person who's at 8, especially depending on their age, if
Mm,
they're 30,
mhm,
you're 30 and you're at 8.
mhm,
That's somebody that's probably a little bit more of an introvert,
mhm,
not really was
mhm.
never really that much of a partier. I was never really a partier.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't smoke or drink. That was never my thing. I never really liked the party scene. That was really out of my system by the time I was like 18, 19. Like
Mhm,
I had a car when I was 16. I used to go to all of the teen nights. We used to have fun and stuff like that in high school, go to house parties.
mhm.
But by the time I was 19, I was since I was 18, well, 17, I started college at 17. Since I was 17,
Yeah.
it was school and work,
Mhm,
school, work, travel. Traveling was my thing.
mhm,
I booked my first trip when I was 18, and
mhm.
I went to Haiti and Dominican Republic.
I went to
So
Haiti too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, since then I've just been traveling is my thing. I never really liked the club scene.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really get it that much.
Thinking about it, so I don't lose track of this. I agree with you that they tell on themselves all the time without them. That's why I actually wouldn't ask body count. I actually don't ask for a number. I assume by default they're going to lie. And if I was to hear what the number is, um, depending on how I'm observing her character, if I think that she doesn't have any, I'm either going to put a 1 at the front of the number or a 0 on the back of the number. That's just how I approach it. So if I feel like if I feel like she's not believable, it depends to the degree of how much I believe her to be a liar. So if she say 8, it's either 18 or 80. That's how I view it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Once I hear certain
Mm-hmm.
red flags, depending
Mm-hmm.
on your it's going. That's what I'm saying. It's going to come through in their character.
Yeah,
they're not going to be as submissive. They're not going to be as feminine as a woman with a low body count.
They generally, but
yeah, generally, it's
right?
never 100% of the time. Because I'll say this: some of these women who have lived a life of crime later on in life, they really want to settle down. And then they become very submissive because they hope you don't find out about their past. So they be on their best behavior.
What they say, the final form of a 304 is a woman of God in the church.
Yeah.
They all get religious at the end. So that's what I mean, where it's like you gotta do due diligence and do that Carfax report to see how much mileage was on that vehicle. So there's just different things that I think men have to start to pay more attention to, because asking women straight out that, you're rarely going to get a straight answer in my mind. Personally.
I'm so relentless with it. It comes out when
you'll
realize it comes out. Just judge other women around her. You be like, look how she dressed.
And then see how she reacts and responds to that.
Look how she dressed. Babe, look at this. They talking about this girl. She said she her body count at 25. And then, so why do you care?
That's not that bad. Why do you care? Oh,
really?
So that was before him.
Her past doesn't matter. Oh, really?
No.
Her past doesn't matter. Oh, really? What's your past?
So the question, thank you, Bolt. It said, would you rather have a girl with a low body count who doesn't behave the way you like in a girl, or a girl with a high body count who behaves exactly how you like? And if we had to choose between these two.
If I had to choose,
and we can't say she's going to change over time.
You go first.
Oh my! I'm going to go with the high body count. I'm going to go with the high body count because in terms of longevity, if she treats me and behaves in the way in which we can do life together, you can overcome her past. But if she's in a way in which you can't do life with her having a low body count's not going to help you.
Yeah, in this hypothetical, I mean, if I have to stay with her, I have to stay with one of them.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I mean, in this hypothetical, if I have to stay with one, then obviously I'm going to stay with the one who behaves exactly how I like.
But she can't have no social media. It's over. Social media is done. Finito. He's gone.
Like you gotta be 100% submissive. You can't do nothing.
Yeah, if you did that crazy run and you honest about what you did in the past and it's real bad, and I know that we have to lock in with this. Social media is the first thing she's giving up. That's over. That's just one thing that I'm not gonna have to think about no more. That's one, because my lens is the people who are constantly going to be trying to remind me of what she got out there and constant, just attention and all. I'm like, nope.
In all reality, I can't be with a woman with a high body count. I wouldn't be with either one of these people. But if we're playing the game and say we got to choose one, then of course you're going to choose the one who's listening to every single thing that you say, 100% submissive. But I could never be with a woman with a high body count.
I'm the same. And again, I think I've effectively lived that way. But like I said, I just don't ask them. That's just not a question for me. Not because I don't care. It's because I pay attention to the other things that is a dead giveaway in terms of where more than likely they are with that.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
someone said in the chat, in that hypothetical, the body count doesn't do what it would do in real life. Like
Mhm.
usually people, the women with the high body count aren't 100% submissive.
Mhm.
They've had so many different men in
Mhm.
their mind most of the
Mhm.
time. They're like, oh, I
Mhm.
could always get another you. I could do this. I could do that. I've had them. I've
Yeah.
had men who
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
$200,000 a year. I've been with millionaires. I've been with this. So
Yeah.
that's usually what it does to them,
Mhm.
rather than just they're 100% submissive and stuck on you and going to be
Facts.
listen and stuff like that. So,
Facts.
yeah, but I could never do the high body count. I can't even do a woman who's been with a man that I know.
That's me. That's me. I'll end a relationship if I find out a dude that you had me around hanging out with, doing life with, hit and was doing all this stuff with, and I never found out, and you would never inform me of that. It's a wrap. Because if you omit that, you omit anything.
Right.
So I'll end things off the strength of that. And I've repeatedly ended situations with girls and women when I found out there was just too much mixed contamination going on in terms.
Yeah.
So thank you for the super chat. Let me go up. Walter Davis for the $2. All right, y'all. We have almost 200 people in this chat, and I believe we only have about 50 to 60 likes. So if everybody in this chat, it drives up the algorithm when everybody in this chat, if you're hearing it, if you're watching this live, please hit the heart and like this channel so we can boost it in the algorithm. Feel free to continue to donate if you haven't towards the channel. Thank you all for tuning in. All right, so some follow-up questions that I have. How important is income and career in dating and choosing a partner?
Income to men?
Yeah.
To men, that's not important.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on now. Because it seems like a lot of ladies in the podcasting sphere and a lot of women are walking around thinking that them bringing that to the table matters. So you saying that a lot of men don't care about their income? Do tell.
99%, most men do not care at all what a woman's income is. It's
Mm,
the woman who care about a man's income. Like I said previously, a woman could make $30 million. She can be financially well off. She can be
mhm,
set for life. And
mhm,
now she's looking for a man who makes the same amount of money or close to the same amount of money or more.
mhm,
Because they still look for those normal qualities in men of provision and
mhm,
being a protector. And a
mhm,
lot of women equate a man's ability to lead to their income. Like,
mm.
oh, and when the bill comes, you should pay it. You're the man.
Yep.
If we have a mortgage, you pay it. If we go out to dinner, you pay it. So
Mhm,
they're more attracted to men who make more money.
mhm.
And they view it that way. Men don't, we don't care. I'll take a
Yeah,
woman
man.
who is working the drive-through at Wendy's. She can be, a bank teller. She can make, she can, as long as she's a productive feminine woman, I could
Mhm,
go in the grocery store and see her behind the counter and be like,
mhm.
look at her. She's pretty. She's
Yeah,
feminine. She's
yeah.
nice. We'll take that. We don't care about the income. It's women
Mhm,
who care about the income, which is why I said about they're more transactional. They care more about the financial aspect of things and
mm.
a man what men can do for them all of the time. We just want a feminine companion,
Yeah,
feminine, fit, friendly.
yeah,
Look at
yeah.
those. Nothing to do with finance. Do you
Mhm,
care about your health? You care about the womb that will carry my child?
mhm,
Um, and are you friendly? Are you feminine? Am I going to be arguing with you? Are you going to be combative? If I just tell you, "Oh, babe, can you bring me a bottle of water?" It's an issue. Oh, I'm not
mhm,
your maid. No man wants that. And then how can
mhm.
I protect you if you aren't listening? And I often think about the movie The Bodyguard. If
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a kid, I like that movie in the aspect of when Kevin Costner, the actor, he got fed up because Whitney wasn't listening,
Mhm,
and then she got scared because she got one of those letters, and she said, "Okay, I'll listen." And she said,
mhm,
"I'll do whatever you want me to do."
mhm,
And he said, "Okay, the first time you break a rule, I'm gone."
mhm,
I can't protect you if you're not fully submissive, if you're not fully feminine. If I
mhm,
tell you to duck and you're like, "Why?"
mhm.
I told you to duck. Duck
Yeah,
first. You know, ask me later. I'm the protector. I see things you don't see. If I say, babe, we're leaving, you say, okay, you leave. Once we're safe in a different location, you say, what happened? Why we have to leave? And I'll tell you. You should trust me as the leader,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's always
Man.
finances.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll say this in regards to the question of women's money matters. If women's money mattered the way it matters to women in terms of our money, every man on the planet will be trying to marry Oprah.
Right.
And that ain't happening. Okay. So at some foundational, and I know what it is it really is solipsism, the inability to be able to look at perspectives outside of their own. So when they think, well, these are the things I want in a man, so clearly if I do the same thing, he'll value it when he sees it in me. There's a whole different list of attraction triggers and things that we like. It's like our attractions are not typically symmetrical. I'm like, in reality, I think we're looking at more your debt than necessarily your money than in anything else, where it's like, I think men in this generation, because of the cost of living and the cost of student loans and the cost of things that women are accumulating because they're building up this lifestyle before they get with this guy. I think men are starting to look more through the lens of men are starting to look at women, and she's now losing points the more and more debt in other things that she has on her plate. We're still not looking at her income, because at any point in time, especially if she hasn't had kids and she wants kids, she can pull back and say, all right, I want to take off of work, or I can't handle childcare and this and that, so I feel like I got to scale back. So our lens is even if you come in with the job, a lot of us are viewing it with a clock in our heads. Like for me, both me and my wife work, and we were working when we met. I've always had a clock in my head in the next 5 years that I plan to make work optional for her if she so chooses. I've never anticipated that she's going to be working until she's 45, 50, 55, 60. That was just never on the table for me. She can choose to do that if she wants to. I hope not. But on the flip side, when I looked at and been in certain relationships and even observed in different situations, when a man loses his job, that clock begins. And if my wife lost her job tomorrow, we may have to downsize the type of house and lifestyle we live in. But I'm not instantly thinking of like, if she don't get a job in the next 3 months, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. Like that's not even in our world. That's not even our frame of reference. And then number two, it's like, what man walks around and says, oh, I would so want you, but like only 60,000. If you made 80,000, oh, now I love her. Like, we don't do that with finances. We don't do that with no degrees. Like, oh, if only you had a master's, I really would be turned on. But only an associate's, I can't do that. Like, that's not even our thing. But it's so strange that like they can't see that that's how the standards they hold us to, but that's not the standard we hold them to. It's funny. It's funny, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of women, like we know there are women who money isn't a big thing to them, but I think clearly the majority of women are looking for a higher income man, especially if they weren't at first, like we were saying before. If they get a divorce or if they break up with their first baby daddy or whatever, now they're looking for higher. You see that more often than not.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, you'll see a man who, I don't know, not that attractive, but he has money, so then women flock to him.
Yep.
If that same man was working at the grocery store, like I'm saying, women wouldn't be flocking to him. So then we know it's money. However, for men, if a woman is fine, she fine. Whether she working at the grocery store or she got $10 million, men are checking her out if she fine. And then if her character is right, the men would marry her, whether she is a billionaire or she's broke. It's not the same for women. Woman will take a man and put up with his nonsense if he has money. Oh, you cheating? Well, I don't care. You cheating on me and I'm in a mansion. So it changes. Money is a significant variable that changes what women will put up with.
Yeah, to a degree. So Disciple of Yahweh writes, what advice do you give to a young man who is a virgin looking for a woman to build a life with, knowing how women are today? Compromise or wait?
What advice do you give? Compromise.
I'm guessing in terms of her own virginity. And when he means by women today, I'm assuming sexually active.
Is he saying that should he wait to have sexual intercourse or compromise with her because he's a virgin?
Yeah. It says, what advice do you give to a young man who is a virgin looking for a
Right.
woman to build a life with, knowing how women are today?
Is he talking about compromise or wait on sex or compromise or wait on a good woman?
Probably both.
Well, if it's pertaining to sex, I don't think anyone should ever compromise their morals and integrity and who they are. If you're looking or waiting for a certain time to have sexual intercourse and that person doesn't want to agree with that, you wait, and the person who's the right person is going to wait with you. If the person is not morally intact overall, if they are ratchet or if they are looking for, they have an ulterior motive, then I wouldn't compromise that either. I would wait, I would wait till it feels right. That would be the advice that I give that person. Wait till the person comes along to check the right boxes. It's not like a person should be in a rush to give away their virginity, man or woman, if the person isn't, checking the right boxes.
I'm gonna tell you now, man. If you're a virgin in the US or the UK or Canada, and that's a high priority and moral standard for yourself, and you're looking for a woman who fits that bill and has that same level of discipline, it's not that they don't exist here. I think it's going to be substantially harder to go into other more traditional cultures and building up enough income and revenue and being able to be abroad to go ahead and pull it. So basically what I'm saying is this the difference between trying to go fishing in a shallow pool where there's only 3 fish when you can go to another pool and there's 30,000 fish. The reality is just go to the pool where you have much greater chances and odds of finding what it is that you're looking for. We're talking about here women lying about body counts. So like we talking about OnlyFans and ratchetness with women with degrees. So like the degree of what you're going to have to the hoops that you're going to have to try to even find this woman. I'm not going to say you're going to spend a lifetime, but you're going to waste a lot of years trying to find that here. I highly suggest you spend the next 1 to 2 years putting yourself in a position to where you can go and find that woman in an environment and culture where virginity is still more valued, where chastity is still more prized, versus trying to find that in a culture where it's just going to be hard to come by, personally. All right. So we're actually almost done, y'all. So I have a few more questions. So, one of the things that's been trending, man, for a minute, I've been wanting to prick your brain for a minute. As of recently, man, the ladies on these podcasts, traveling, giving all this life coaching advice, everybody is starting to say, what's going on with all these single commentators, especially single women, giving all this feedback and advice and haven't been in a long-term successful relationship and are not and may have never been married. What are your thoughts about them giving advice to other people's lives and marriages and relationships?
I see these women in the on the podcast scene who fit the description that you're talking about, and while they can offer some good takes, but then it's also a bit of like hypocrisy there when you're not really practicing what you preach in some aspects, because some of them will say things like, oh, you got to be feminine, and you can't be delusional, and you got to understand what men are looking for out there. So they come with a talking point that seems to be logical, but then they're not logical or fully, certain aspects of their lifestyle points to delusion. You got to understand that if you're in that 30 plus realm or 30 plus age realm, you're now in the, quote Kevin Samuels again, the danger zone. So if you're looking for a man who has, millions of dollars or $150,000 plus, $200,000 plus, those men who are single and have, accumulated wealth, they're not looking for that, because they're looking for, that 25 to 29-year-old age range, or maybe 25 to 32, so that they could look to have children, and then just have a younger version. If I can get a 27-year-old version of you, why would I take a 35-year-old version? It doesn't make sense. And then when you talk about, some of them talk about, not sleeping around or not doing certain things. Well, are you abstinent? Well, what are you doing? And then they talk about how women should portray themselves online, but you can go to their page sometimes and you can see them acting in certain ways or see them half naked. So I just think, when I listen to the information, so I can agree with the take, but then I also have to look at the way you live, and we can see some contradiction or hypocrisy.
Yeah, man. I feel somewhat similar to a degree. I do acknowledge and I do challenge my audience when I'm on these type of platforms and stuff to always prioritize number one, if it's true or not, what's being stated. You can always look at the additional factors, the tone, the volume, the tone, how it was said, when it was said, who said it, are they reflecting it? I always start with, is it true or not? Because that to me, that's still the most important thing at the end of the day. But number two, from an experiential component, when you have or when you are not and have never had the very thing that you're trying to point people to go to and experience, um, it, you may be more prone to recommending things that sound good on paper, um, and not experientially being able to truly back up what it is that you have to say. I'm gonna be honest with you. I totally respect and know that people. I can get truth from people who are divorced. I can get truth from people who are single. I can get bad advice from people who are married. So I do weigh all of those things when I'm listening to these things, and I also reflect and I guess think about the fact that, like, I think the most, besides whether or not it's true, the most central important thing to me is, do they have a healed perspective of both sexes? A lot of the people that's trending and going viral and doing all these promotions and touring, they usually have a bias in one towards one gender or the other. And the way in which you'll really know what a person's true attitude is about truth, to me anyway, is whether or not they're hitting home and pointing out things that need to be grown on both sides. If a man, I'm telling you, ladies, this man, if the man that you're following and listening to never tells you anything you don't want to hear, that women don't want to hear, that means he's telling you only what you want to hear. That means he's convincing you that it's always the men that are at fault. And it's no different from the man's side. And the guys, you got to start to be more aware of the people who are pandering to y'all, whether they're men or women. Guys, if all they're doing is telling you about how horrible women are, and that there's nothing for you to grow in, there's nothing for you to change, there's nothing for you to mature in, and it's just the quality of women is trash now, and that's it. That's it. That's the only thing that needs to change in society, and all will be made better. Like, come on, y'all. Like, y'all gotta know that, like, if people are not saying from both sides, if they're not balanced with that, that means that they're pandering to one side or the other. That's my humble opinion. So that's just my thoughts with it
Yeah,
anyway.
if they're, I often see people who are afraid to choose a side, like they try to straddle the fence. That's I see that too as like a sign they don't want to offend either side. Like, you got to let your truth be truth, and you got to let the side that you're standing on, you got to stand on business. Don't try to straddle the fence.
Yeah. Last two questions. Amanda Seals, a very well-known figure in the culture. She recently did a debate with, I believe, 20 or 25 conservatives. And there's been a lot of commentary about her debate performance and how people felt she did. I have some philosophical differences of opinions from Amanda Seals. Not that some of her talking points weren't actually true and can be actually backed up to a degree, especially historically. What were your thoughts about her performance and her conclusions about what needs to be fixed or resolved?
I think she had a good performance, just off the when I look at the debate, the way it was structured, her versus 20 conservatives sitting around her, being a person that I've been on several platforms now, and I know how difficult it is to maybe remember all of your talking points, and things of that nature. Her original premises were correct. I don't think there's an original premise that I go against. There were parts of the debate where she could have did a better job arguing, but again, you're on the spot. You're not using a computer, anything like that. She could have did a better job at that, and there were parts of it. I'm going to do a review. There were parts where she didn't answer the questions.
Yeah.
Like one of the guys asked her about okay, reparations, who should get it and why, and she went into the why, but she didn't answer who should get it. And I noticed things like that. And then just in other aspects of it, when there was a young brother up there, and he was asking her, I forgot what question he was asking her, but she was like, how old are you? And then stuff. I don't think that's as relevant. That's not really, just deal with the argument. That's a bit of an ad hominem. Just deal with the argument that he's presenting and not the other stuff. But I think I would take, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember, I would take her stance, but I would just argue it better. I would bring forward different information. Like, for example, when she was talking about they were talking about black on black crime. Whenever someone brings up the argument of black on black crime against me, it's just like that doesn't make sense, because if you look at every racial category is more likely to unalive that racial category. White people unalive white people more. So she was right with the proximity argument. And I don't even think most people know when they one of them brought up like crime. I don't even think most people know how crime is reported in the United States. So she said something like, which she could have did a better job arguing. She said something like, "Oh, facts lie," or no, not for the facts. Statistics lie. Statistics can be wrong, and all this. Statistics lie. She was like, "You can't trust them." Da 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 da. And if you know how the crime is reported in the United States, she sort of has a point, but she didn't bring that up. So crime in the United States is reported by the UCR. And when you speak to most people, they don't know what the UCR is, the Uniform Crime Report. And that comes from all of the police stations and the police agencies. They report the data. So, and it's not from every police agency. So we don't have all of the numbers. We have an estimation of the numbers. And she brought up something about one of the guys quoted the FBI. In 2006, 2007, the FBI released their own report that they had been infiltrated by white supremacists. So if they've been infiltrated by white supremacists and they're releasing data, it could be skewed if she would have brought up that fact. And just the fact that we don't have all of the data from all of the police stations in the UCR, that could sort of skew data, but she didn't bring up the UCR and how the data is presented. She also didn't bring up how what else didn't she bring up? She didn't bring up, like, I would have just framed in terms of when she said systemic racism, I would have broke it down into three components: the educational system, the criminal justice system, and you say policing. So if you look at, say, the criminal justice system with sentencing, Black people get sentenced differently than their white counterparts. They're more likely to get more time for the same crime. Black people are more likely to be sentenced to death row. These are all things that people can look up. You could go on deathpenalty.gov and look up all of this data that shows systemically there's racism there. Then policing, how Black people get pulled over more, how Black people are still 3 times more likely to get unalived or shot or harmed by a police officer when they're unarmed in comparison to their white counterparts. Well, what else? Stop and frisk. When we've had stop and frisk, Black people are more likely to
get stopped
and frisk than their white counterparts. the educational system, my field of expertise, I would have went crazy.
Yeah.
It's the curriculum has been proven to be systemically racist, and that's what my dissertation was actually on. When I said black and white 11th and 12th grade students' perception of social studies curriculum in New York State public schools. There's been several research studies that shows that the curriculum is predominantly Eurocentric. And you just think about how we were raised in the United States of America when you hear things like, oh, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, discovered America, and all of these things. That's where the racism is in the curriculum when they tell you these lies and falsehoods, and they don't even go over, oh, wait, there were people in these lands, and what did they look like? And you don't hear about that. You learn about the same Black people, the same figures, who we learn about the same Black people. You're gonna learn about Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King. They're gonna throw in Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and maybe Jackie Robinson, and that's it. They don't give you full context. They don't tell you about our greatness. They don't tell you about the great aspects of things that we do. They don't make all of the founding fathers. They don't tell them in their true form. They make Abraham Lincoln seem like a hero. They tell us that he freed the slaves. They don't tell you about really the South trying to secede from the Union and the true reason why he wanted to go to war, and how it was more about bringing them back into the Union rather than freeing the slaves. They don't tell you about how he gave white slave masters reparations in 1862, which would have been good to know while we're trying to highlight him as some person who did great things to help Black people, when he said he doesn't care. If it was up to him, he would keep Black people in chains. He gave white slave masters reparations. They don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about, they make George Washington seem like a good person. They don't tell you that he owned slaves.
They don't say about the what's it called, the GI Bill,
right?
Black veterans weren't allowed to get, while their white counterparts, which started their generational wealth ahead of the clock than we did. So, Doug MPA, I just wanted to say, thank you for the $5. He writes, Amanda Seales is a demon. She's the worst of Black women in the United States. She tried to falsely accuse Myron Rowley because he turned her down.
No, it's Myron Rolle.
Myron Rolle, okay.
And I'm not a fan of Amanda Seales. That's like, I've done several. I did it when she did that. You know who Myron Rolle is?
Is he an athlete?
He was an athlete, and now he's a neurosurgeon.
Gotcha. I heard about it, but I never like really looked. I
don't like Amanda Seales. I'll never forgive her for doing that, because she literally said, I don't have empirical evidence, but he's doing things that's not okay with women. Like, why would you say that? You have no evidence. He's a Black man, so I'll never forgive her. Me being a Black man. Even if she came out tomorrow and said, "Oh, sorry, I apologize for saying that," because then I wouldn't think it's genuine. So at this point, it's too late. I'm not a fan of her, but for the reasons I said, I think she did well. She did good. I would have brought up, like I said, I would have just made it real clear. Brought up 3 bullet points. Okay, educational system, policing, criminal justice, and brought up the facts that I brought up. There's other variables. I don't know how long she was there. She could have been a little nervous, could have had some jitters. Sometimes, it happens. You don't remember all of your facts. You like, I know this person is wrong, but I don't have all of my facts to give the best rebuttal. But from what I saw and the premises that I remember, I think I would have took the same stance she took. I just think I would have defended it better.
Yeah. So for me, as a person who now aligns with being politically independent, grew up primarily as an adult, especially as primarily identifying as a progressive / and Democrat. Switching to being independent, it's made life a lot easier for me to be able to talk on these things and be honest about these performances and everything. I think she argued like a liberal. I think she argued like a modern day liberal today, and not a classical liberal that was very much trained in many of the things that you articulated. I think she used a lot of ad hominems. I think that she used a lot of tactics from an argumentation standpoint that sounds good, looks good, but when you actually hold up the weight, I don't think there was much depth. There was a whole host of directions she could have taken it when they threw a lot of attacks her way. And in reality, and you're right. It's very difficult when you're trying to debate 20 people and they're all throwing 20 different random things at you. Like, it is tough for sure. But there was so many people who are widely known or lesser known that I think would have done maybe not maybe, probably done a substantially better job in terms of being able to articulate the Black experience, systemic racism, um, the more rampant examples of it, especially in the past, and the waning, harder to find examples as time goes on. I think that all of those things can kind of be true. Stop and frisk that you brought up, I think, is an excellent, one of the more modern, excellent examples of, think of this, man. If the goal is to find drugs, and we want to find as many drugs as possible, illegal drugs as possible, what other place would you go to than most college campuses? And they'll never do that. They'll go into the hood to do stop and frisk. They won't do that to college students whose parents have sent them to college, where college parties is getting lit and all the stuff that happens on college campuses, right? Like it's that type of dynamic where the GI Bill, another great example, where it's like, well, if you when you repeatedly show a pattern of picking and choosing which groups get repertory actions and which groups don't, and slave masters can get it, but the slaves cannot. The children of the slaves can't get it. The GI Bill they can't get. Like, it gets to a point where it's like the redlining, like it. Yeah, the sundown towns that still exist to this day. There's a whole host of things, like you said, that can show to varying degrees. But what I will say is, personally, that I think what was much more rampant and common and much more easier to discern from Jim Crow all the way up into potentially the early 90s, I think has now morphed more so into classism. And I think what we see now is political and economic classism in terms of elitism, kind of is now shaping how people are being treated in culture and society. Racism, you're never going to eradicate it, but I think rampantly, I think it's gotten functionally to a point where much of what we're attributing to racism is actually more of a product of elitism and classism than anything else. And it just so happens that the poorest group, who still happens to look Black, this is how this stuff tends to happen. And that I think that in the affluent places where more and more Black people live, some of these things aren't happening nearly as much anymore. There's a lot more political influence. There's a lot more things going on that kind of buffers some of the things that can happen to people when they hit certain classes and regions. They have more political connections, they have better networking. And before you know it, like, it's not that their Blackness disappears, but it starts to seem as though the color that matters the most is green in certain spaces and places. That definitely isn't everywhere. But I think that's part of what I'm starting to notice is starting to happen is that the things that were much more easier to kind of discern in terms of, yep, that's a clear-cut case. I think we need a little bit more nuance when it comes to just saying everything is sexism and everything is racism. I think we're starting to move in that territory where there's a little bit more nuance that kind of needs to unfold. So one last question.
Well, while still on that, that's why. So Amanda Seales, she needs my book,
Black Supremacy. Yeah.
If she had read my book, Black Supremacy, it outlines the systemic racism that has occurred and what still occurs, and she would have been able to prepare her argument better, because she could have brought up even job discrimination. How there's been studies that show, like, oh, if you have a name that's more facing Black facing, opposed to a neutral name or one that is like perceived as white, you're more likely to get hired if you have a white sounding name or a neutral name than if you have a name that's clearly Black. Also, she could have brought up, like I said, with policing in 2016 in a police academy in Florida, they were shooting at the mugshots of Black citizens. So that's clearly racist. Why would you use the real face of Black? And only Black people were up there. They were caught red-handed. Then job discrimination in 2022. There's a lawsuit going on in Long Island, New York. There were 6,700 black applicants who had qualified to become a police officer. They were going through the police academy, and only less than 70 were hired. So out of 6,700, less than 70 were hired. All of them were disqualified. The main reason for disqualification was the psychological examination, which isn't objective. It can't be objective. It's only a professional opinion.
Yeah.
So there's a lawsuit going on for that. And no one you can't get around that fact. If it's 6,700, less than 70, so that's less than 1%. That's 0.06%, 0.054%, less
Yeah.
than 1%. Like that's out of near 6,700, less than 70. That's crazy. So how do you get around that? There's no way around some of these facts. Also, there was one of the gentlemen brought up a comparison of Chinese Americans to Black Americans, and she said, "Oh, you can't compare them to us," but she could have brought up like simple facts, like, "Oh, when were Chinese Americans systemically experimented on and infected with illness or diseases, like the Tuskegee experiment, which lasted for over 40 years in the Black community, from 1932 to 1972. And it wasn't until a white news reporter threatened to expose it that they exposed it. And we have to look out for our own. Like even our own have been to our element, because it was a Black woman who, Eunice Rivers, a Black female nurse, who was given the shot to Black men, infecting them with syphilis. So you have to think about the psychological damage that's done, along with the actual physical damage that's done when we're bringing that back to our communities. When were Chinese neighborhoods destroyed? Like we see with, Black Wall Street and all of Rosewood and all of the different Black communities where our neighborhoods were destroyed, Black people were lynched. When did that happen? Name
a one, man.
Name a Chinese slave. Name a Chinese slave who was a slave in America. Like
what was it? The China, and so a big one that I don't think a lot of people, and this is a very easy one to think about. How was it for multiple generations? These Chinese immigrants would come in, go to the bank, and get loans to start businesses in areas that the people who lived there couldn't get qualified to get access to. What's this lengthy credit history? Okay, so there's this thing where it's like it takes people a while to realize, well, if they're giving it to the Chinese, if they're giving it to the age, they're giving these loans to these various groups in the various jurisdictions where Black Americans were not being permitted to get loans for, on top of the redlining in the areas that they were not allowed. Like it's one of those things where, and I'm actually somebody who functionally probably moves a little bit more conservatively in regards to my economics, actually more from a libertarian perspective, honestly, in regards to, I'm starting to lean much more towards the Booker T model than the W.E.B. Du Bois model, and believing that whatever significant systemic, cultural, and social power and changes we need to make is going to be because of us. It's not going to be because of government intervention, especially on the federal level. And I'll still be willing to acknowledge these things have existed and impacted the trajectory of history. It's fascinating to see the things that people will go to kind of deny that these things have ever existed or maybe are still happening even to this day. So I have one more question, and this will probably be the
more. You just made me think of something else. Why you keep doing that?
Go ahead. What's up?
Because it was a point in the debate where one of the Black guys was like, "I'm successful, you're successful. What oppression? What are you talking about? What's holding us back?" And that was so stupid to me that like that person has no understanding of history to say that.
It's an apex fallacy, first of all. Like, it's annoying.
Like Phyllis Wheatley was a slave, and she was a poet, one of the youngest poets in American history. She was like 15, published author. Frederick Douglass, we all know him. He had his own newspaper, the North Star, his own newspaper chain. He was literally a slave. There were several slaves, former slaves, people who were born into slavery. Like, you just brought up Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was a doctor. So are you saying his whole movement was for no reason now because he was able to obtain a PhD?
Yeah.
Like, there were, throughout history, we've always seen successful Black people. During slavery, we saw successful Black people. One of my some of my most I want to call them like heroes. Like, if you look up people like Denmark Vesey, John Horst, Nat Turner. These were people who were successful to their own degree, educated, well-spoken, pastors. Denmark Vesey purchased his own freedom because he won the lottery.
Yep.
And he was successful, and he was free. He was free for something like 25 years or so. When he was trying to lead his rebellion, he was 55 years old. He was successful.
So,
what does that mean? He had no reason to fight for something?
Yeah. AJ writes, the Chinese were forcibly removed from the Napa Valley. They were the original builders of the community. There was also the Chinese Exclusion Act. That was a federal law that hated on the Chinese. The problem with these examples, AJ, and this is the case with what many of the conservatives point to, is these are outlier examples. They're rare. Not that they weren't bad. Not that different things didn't happen to different groups. It's that there was a multi-generational ongoing thing that was both implicit and explicit that was done between name changes. That's why when you see so many Black people with English sounding last names, family separation.
We're a clear example of that. Jeff St. James, Dr. William James.
Yeah, right. So, you can't have so many years of these varying things happening and point to these outlier examples and say that they're even close to comparable. They're both bad. They're both horrible. The things that happened to the Japanese during World War II, we can point to unique things that happened to different groups in different seasons and different eras of American history. There's only two groups, in my opinion, that people can say to a degree have very comparable things that kind of happen. And that was out of obviously what we would deem as those who are the Black Americans and those who they would deem as the natives. And depending on who you're talking to, that group may be kind of intermixed in terms of lineage and background and whatnot. So that's really the only difference. It's not that other groups haven't experienced things, whether they're white people or Asians or you name it, or various native groups. The point is that this is one of the group we're talking about. The Black community is the only group where so many different things happened on so many different levels on the local and federal level. And it was almost all kind of allowed for long stretches, even after the Civil Rights Act. So that's the degree of where, and I would even go so far as to say, even in modern times, like Dr. Will said, the blatant example of studies that show when applicants have some, like I literally read the studies myself, where they show that individuals who had different levels of qualifications, meaning a Black and white applicant, and the Black applicant had equal or better credentials, if their name, you could easily discern that they were Black, they were statistically much less likely to get the job than their white counterparts with equal or less credentials and experience. So, it's one of those situations where, I just think that, it's unfortunate that I do believe that all the things we just had a 20-minute diatribe of example after example after example to kind of show how these things kind of came to be. And it is what it is. I don't let it define me. I don't live my life in fear. I don't live as if I don't walk around as if I'm oppressed. Have I been treated poorly by the police? Yeah. Have I been treated well by the police? Yeah. Have I had a white man say he wanted to hang me in Edgewater Park, New Jersey, when I was going my way to soccer practice, when I was going my way to the school, when I was in high school? Yeah. Have I had white people that's treated me well and helped me get promotions and jobs and opportunities in life? Yeah. So that's kind of how I view it, where although these things can exist, I'm still willing to allow individuals to show their true selves. And I hope that, and I would like that people to believe that they can give us the benefit of the doubt as well as a community versus judging our group only through the lens of the worst of us. So yeah, so we're wrapping up and we have one more question, and this is going to be a good question. The author of Black Supremacy, I want to get his humble and honest and straightforward and raw opinion on interracial relationships. What's your stance? What do you think about it? And what are those who engage in it? What are your thoughts about their view of the Black community and their own Blackness?
I'm against interracial relationships. I think we have to build the Black nuclear family, and that means a Black man, Black woman, Black child, whether it's an Afro Latina, someone who's Black, um, uh, they Black American or Caribbean. I'm against interracial relationships. I think we have to build with our own, and I think that we have to bring back the love, the visual
Mm-hmm.
of ourselves, seeing one another together. I think that's strongest. Um, the same way I can't champion or support a Black man being with a white woman or a non-Black woman, and then say a Black woman who gets with a man of a different race, a white man
Mm-hmm.
or Asian man or something like that, and say, oh, that's disgusting. I think
Mm-hmm.
both
Mm-hmm.
of them could be, sometimes definitely it's rooted in self-hate. It's rooted in our oppression and thinking that, oh, non-Black is better.
Mm-hmm.
So I stay away from it. And just from a religious aspect, I'm an Israelite. So Israelites, we're not allowed to date non-Israelites. So it
Mm-hmm.
would have to be someone who is under one of the Israelite tribes in order for us to take up for marriage. But from just looking from that lens, no matter how difficult or combative people may view sisters, I would never get with a non-Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't happen. And I caution people who do so, because oftentimes I do think it is rooted in fetish. In my younger years, I have, dealt with non-Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when I just think about the whole dialogue and the way the whole, you know, uh, relationship or parts of the relationship, or it wasn't really a relationship, I've never been in a relationship with one, but
Mm-hmm.
just the talking phases of it seemed like a fetish.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like this person really liked me or anything like that. It seemed like a fetish, something to check off the box, um to say the least. So yeah, I would caution that.
Yeah. And so obviously it sounds like you're aligned with Dr. Umar, where a person who dates or is in a relationship interracially, they can't be both doing that and pro-Black.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's pro-Black. I don't think you could sleep white and be pro-Black. I don't think you could sleep non-Black and be pro-Black.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I've actually thought about that, and like you, I've dated and been in a relationship and married to a non-Black woman at one point. And I've been wanting to speak on this topic for a minute, particularly as a person who's actually done it. I do find it fascinating to a degree. Not this isn't so much towards you as it is the Umars and others who are a lot more pronounced and constant with their critiques of what other people are doing with their lives and their sexual organs, so to speak. The first of which is if you're not with a Black woman, um, you're obviously not being pro-Black. Fine. And if people conclude that, that's their choice, that's their right. My stance is I have additional standards at play when it comes to this whole quote unquote um, hierarchy of list of things in order to measure one's blackness. And one of them is if my blackness is hinged on whether or not I'm with a black woman, because I'm thus, pushing the culture forward by being with a black woman and having a black child and creating, black children and thus legacy. All the people who are not in relationships, all the people who are single, because they're not actively doing that right now, do they get like a point off on their blackness scale because they don't have a black child yet, or they don't have a black woman yet? Like, and then let's go a little bit further. So when you have black children and you're not married to those black women, is that like 2 points off because you don't have your child with you every day and you're not married to the black woman, you're not covering her? This the good one. I think about this one a lot. When you sleep with black women and you don't marry them, and we count your body count, is that a -1 for every black woman you slept with and didn't marry and left out there to add to her body count and not cover her or marry her? The more and more I look at the shallowness of some of these talking points and things, I'm like, I don't know that people seriously thought these things through. So the individual or individuals who are wealthy, well off, in interracial relationships that pour hours, millions, thousands of dollars back into the black community, black organizations, hire black women, hire black men, promote them, give them opportunities. But because of who they sleep with, all the things that they did on the behalf of black people, I guess, don't count or matter. What's his name? Frederick Douglass isn't disqualified for me as an icon and what he did and the pioneer and who he advocated for, because at one point in time he ended up with a white woman. So I'm one of them strange people that can acknowledge that fetishization obviously exists, that there's definitely black men that elevate non-black women and saying that they're better. And there's also black people whose sexuality may not be and follow in line with those who lean more towards the Umars, so Dr. Umars and Pan-Africans of the world, which is fine. But I also look beyond who they're sleeping with, and I look at their actual actions outside of that relationship to let me decide how closely aligned they are or aren't. There's a whole host of people who only sleep with black women and are the worst people for the black community. And I think we have to get a little beyond that piece. I have no problem. People have their preferences, people have their standards, but so many of the other things I just pointed to. If I worked in and for a prison, if I was signing and sending black men, signing off that black men can go back home to their families and reintegrate with their community, if I was working alongside courts, if I was hiring black women, if I'm managing multi-million-dollar budgets on the behalf of black people, advocating raises, promotions, increases, salaries, giving them opportunities that other people may have not looked out for with them. If I'm going to the protests like everybody else is, I'm boycotting like everybody else is. But because for a 2 to 3 year stretch, I was with somebody that wasn't black, none of that counts. I think that, yeah. And what I believe is that a lot of the people who hold those stances, I actually think deep down, they know that it counts too. And that's the issue, is that there's a whole host of people, because they've never dated and never slept with or never married a non-black person, their blackness is somehow superior in terms of the checkmark box than the people who did. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. Your spouse is black. How do you treat your black wife? Your spouse is black, but you still cheating on her. You got three black baby mamas and you're married to none of them. You get +3 in points in blackness. Like, come on, y'all. Like, this is where we go from the surface level, discussions to being like, nah, I think there's a space where we can acknowledge that we disagree on paper. We disagree on the surface level about sometimes people's individual choices, but their ability to be able to show up on the behalf of black people. This is the whole discussion about, like, some of my friends that I know that are gay have looked out on the behalf of me and everybody I know that's black far more than the people who are straight and are focusing only on themselves. So I'm in that weird space where people can have nuanced disagreements, and I'm totally full with it. I mean, okay with it. I just hope that we will open up our camp and our umbrellas for people who sleep the way we want them to sleep with other people, and they're the worst representations of everything else in our culture and society. And then there's other people who, like, certain things are just a little off or different, and yet the rest of their lifestyle, they're living it. They're really doing it. And I even think back to the civil rights movement, for those that believe that it was a good thing. There was black people who were against it. There were black people who didn't want us to get more rights, and then there were white people who did. And I'm in that weird, strange, like, when Harriet Tubman was doing what she was doing, there was white folks that was helping her, along with some black folks.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, man. So I'm getting to a place, man, where it's not that I don't recognize black issues and black unity and the need for black, like your book, Black Supremacy, and for us to see the beauty in our culture and history, and really elevate and raise the standard of what we're to display and strive for in our own personal lives. But I'm also willing to acknowledge that, like, man, just because somebody sleeps a certain lifestyle the way of what I want doesn't mean that they don't measure up in almost any other area. And there's cats where there's some of the dudes that's the most faithful to the movement in terms of the black community. They ain't even married to black women yet. They're not even in a relationship. And I genuinely think that these dudes, just because they don't have a black child yet or a black wife yet, I'm not going to disregard, like, all the other things that they're doing and have done that shaped our culture and where we are as a people. So yeah, man, I definitely want you to expound and respond to that, because I spoke for about 10, 20 minutes. And this was more so a response to the Umars and others who went out of their way to isolate and antagonize and attack other people, when he charging women $500 to go on a date with him. That was what he posted. Like, come on, man. So the Prince of Pan-Africanism is charging black women, and he think he Chris Brown, to go to go on a date with him for a day.
No. So, like, that's just ridiculous. And like, when people do stuff like what he's doing, and there's multiple things on the scale, like you said, there's multiple things that sort of like it takes away from a person's legacy and the way they're viewed. So like, if we just use like Serena Williams, for example, greatest female tennis player of all time, and I don't even think it's debatable.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Her view within black culture, the way she's viewed in black culture historically, would be different if she married a black man and had a child with a black man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the facts of the matter. Had she, all right, boom, greatest female tennis player of all time, out of Compton, her and her sister, their story, black father taught them how to play tennis. Her father, like, we all saw the movie, their father, like, protected them and made them strong and believe in themselves, and they entered this arena that was considered a white sport, and they dominated from a young age. And if she, like, put the nail in the coffin to top it all off, she married a man that resembled her father, and had himself like a father, she would be viewed differently in black culture. She would be put on a higher level in black culture as like the ultimate pro-black person. But because she didn't marry black and have a child with a black man, she's not viewed that way. There are people who, like you say, they may marry black, date a black person, and then they do several other things that are detrimental to the black community. The premise I outline in my book, Black Supremacy, a black supremacist is someone who does things to the benefit of the black community. If you are someone who does anything, if your actions are to the detriment of the black community, then you are a detriment, and you can't consider yourself pro-black, because your actions are a detriment. So if we look at someone who, or you got a black wife and black kids, but you are a drug dealer, okay, you're not pro-black. You could preach, you could say whatever you want, but your actions of pouring that into the community is negative. So if you look at someone like Dr. Umar, who he had uh, 2 baby mamas.
Mm-hmm.
From to what I know, he wasn't really involved in them. Now, like you said, he's saying, "Oh, go on a date with the Prince of Pan Africanism, $500. I'll pay for the date after you sign up with $500." He's talking about his sexual exploits, a she gummy bear, the Shondo stick. This is what I'm hearing him saying, and so you're talking about having random
Yeah. Yeah.
sexual encounters with these black women, which who does that benefit? How is that to for anything for any of our black boys to aspire to? And then he
Mm-hmm.
just did a film. He just did. There was a film. Did you see the film that came out?
The little documentary
Yeah,
joint.
that little hour
I
long
just
thing.
saw it. I just saw it on Monday.
So I'm like, in the film, he has an aspect of it where he's like hooking up with these
Random
moms.
women. Yeah.
He's hooking up with these random women, these moms. He's like, he's supposed to be helping the black boys, but he's hooking up with the mothers. And I'm like, why would you even want to portray that in a film that's loosely based off of your real lifestyle? And you're the character playing it, and you okayed it. And why would you want that narrative to be in people's head that, like, yo, some of the boys, when I go help them, I sleep with their mom? Like,
yeah.
So, like, if that's who you are, you can't consider yourself pro-black. You're no better than what you're saying, what you're against. So there's several aspects of it. I don't consider, if someone is childless or they're single, but every aspect of their life lines up with pro-blackness, then they're just pro-blackness, and they should be considered, like, they can be considered on the highest levels. I do put levels on it. I think levels, like Serena Williams is my example as to, like, hindering your own legacy with your actions, just off of the historical nature and the capacity of, like, what black people have experienced and the way things are viewed. You're not going to be viewed on the highest level if you have a non-black spouse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to someone who
I agree from a cultural standpoint that that's how a lot of people view it. My issue is, this is including Nuance. Let's use Serena as an example. Did Serena date black men before?
I think she did. I think she dated Common or somebody. Yeah.
Common, Drake, many others, right? And none of those black men married her. And this is my caveat. When I see a person who had a track record in their past of dating black, and they're not the one that's doing the proposal, they're not the one that's getting down on one knee to ask for somebody's hand, and the relationships don't work out, the men could have disappointed her, they could have left, they could have cheated. Who knows what the reasons or rationales are? She tried to date black. She did it for a long stint of her adulthood, and she finally settled on with this dude, a billionaire, I believe. I think he's a billionaire, something like that.
He up there in his money. I know that.
Yeah. He got more money than me. And will judge her not for the 5 to 8, 10 plus black men that she tried to do it with. She'll be judged from a cultural standpoint for the man that's not black that she ended up with at the end. And it's not fair. I know it's real. I'm judged differently now with the wife who I currently have than if I had came out with this message 10 years ago and I had a different spouse. Same guy, same message. But because my wife is black and my child is black right now, if all other actions of mine are exactly the same, in other people's eyes, it wouldn't matter. And that's the thing that I'm pointing to, where there's that strange piece that I don't know that we're accounting for, which is, to me anyway, that there's these factors that what I'm basically concluding is what's in a person's heart. And the only way you know that is for some people, the only way they can judge what's in your heart is who you sleep with. And for other people, we only know what's in your heart in terms of how you treat black people. And that's my thing. Some people want to lean more to that one side, and other people want to lean to the left, to the other side. I've moved to a space where I'm a little bit more interested in all the other areas. If people want to get bonus points for the final piece to check off, cool. If that's what it takes, fine. But for me, when I look at a person's totality of their life, um, Frederick Douglass's final spouse just doesn't do it for me in terms of negating anything. It doesn't negate to Tina Turner's history and legacy. And the people that allow it to, that's their right. That's their choice. They're allowed to disagree with me. I just hope that they could see a world where people that may disagree with them potentially could also have a slightly different view of being quote unquote pro-black, and very much so have a lot of reasons and explanation for why it was that they could arrive at a conclusion where they think that they're still doing so much and amazing things. Now, people want to say that little nuance difference, fine. If you say that's the final piece, that if she just did that one piece, we would now see her as this. I still see her as that. I do. And the people who choose not to, that's their right to. I just will hope that those of us that disagree are a little bit more accepting of this stuff. Just realize not all of us that's accepting of interracial relationships just say, yeah, that's right. You ain't got to care about the Black community. Okay, well, outside of the fact that your spouse is Hispanic or your spouse is white or your spouse is whatever, I'm going to look at everything else in your life, how you talk, how you speak, how you conduct yourself, who you're giving opportunities to, who you're looking out for, who you advocating for, who you silent about. And I'll factor that into my judgment of you. So, you have final thoughts, and then we'll close out.
When you say Hispanic or you say Latino, black, they're black though.
No, what I'm saying is people get caught up in that part. I'm caught up in, regardless of how white or Hispanic they are, I'm going to look at, okay, I'll give you an example. There's two men that are in interracial relationships. Mm-hmm. They're both with white women. One never says a single negative thing about the Black community or Black women specifically at all. He never does comparisons. It's just where he ended up in life. Maybe he went to a PWI and the population of Black women that were available weren't very high. And for a lot of people, the time when they meet their spouse is when they're in college. He met his spouse in college. He didn't go to HBCU. That's just how it happened. Another guy, similar story, but he disparages, disrespects, and goes out of his way to talk about trash and stay as far away from the Black community and Black women specifically. I'm going to judge those two men differently. They are not the same thing to me. I think we should be careful in our community with putting all those people in the same category. Does that mean that you're completely fine with either of their actions? Maybe not. Like in your case. But I most certainly don't see them in the same category. And it's pretty obvious why. Because their attitudes, their mindsets, and their statements and their actions reflect that they are radically different for the reason and justification for why they're doing that and being that, and their viewpoint towards the people that look like them. I think proximity is a huge factor. Timing, proximity, what you had and didn't have available, what you had in terms of what to offer with the Black women you were trying to pursue. I have on my phone right now text message from a 6-figure Black man who owns a home, who's doing very well in life, and literally said after he watched my last video where I met with the 5 Black ladies, young ladies, and he said that whole panel, that whole discussion was incredible because you exactly explained my entire college experience where I actively only was interested in and was surrounded by nothing but Black women. And they were not interested. They said I was corny. They said I was trying to be white. When I got done with college and started working, I met a coworker or some chick out there, and she just happened to be white, and I never dated a white woman a day in my life. And I ended up having a child with her, and everybody called me a sellout. And that's the thing that I think we do when we eat our own. He meets with Black boys for therapy. He drives to their home for in-house therapy. He services the community. He does case management. He works with the city. He's constantly advocating on the behalf of the Black community. But because he had a child by a woman that wasn't Black, he was supposed to wait indefinitely until he found a Black woman that liked him. And he was supposed to just wait and wait and wait till he's 30 or 35 for the potential of that to happen. I'm not going to judge that dude. I'm just not going to judge that dude for nothing close in the same ballpark as a self-hating Black man who runs to some other race or culture and demonizes Black women. Those two men are not the same to me. And that's why even in my judgment of the interracial dynamic, even besides my own personal history with it, which was the one time that I did, it opened up my eyes to the nuance of even in that space. There's people who have varying degrees of being quote unquote more like pro-Black and definitely anti-Black. And then when I stepped out of that space and looked at the people who exclusively dated Black people, I saw people who were very pro-Black and people who were anti-Black. So that's where I was coming from, where, yeah, man, we obviously I'm a little more accepting of it, obviously. But then I'm looking beyond who they got with. I'm looking at your spouse and their attitude. I'm looking at their attitude towards your biracial children. I'm looking at how their treatment of the other Black people that they're surrounded by in proximity. And I'm judging them the same. I'm judging the Black person and their spouse to see and observe how they treat and talk and act towards our community. And all of that's a factor for me. And what's the whole saying? Don't assume that Black faces in high spaces is your advocate. That's how I feel about relationships. I no longer assume that those who just happen to be in the Black relationship care about the Black community. And I no longer assume that those that don't have that same dynamic as far as a relationship, as far as it being interracial, can't be pro-Black, even if it's not to the degree that everybody else says they definitely could be. Drew Holiday, look him up and see what he's done on the behalf. He's done more than almost anybody anybody that we know personally for our community. And he got a white wife. And that's my lens and my view, man, where it's like people gonna be people. I would love for our community to get it together and to grow. And my hope is that Black marriage rates do improve and do increase. But even in the instances where people just marry differently or did some type of different relational dynamic, all right, now that the wedding's over, what you gonna do? So that's just kind of where I'm at, man, and how I've been like thinking and processing it, honestly.
Yeah, I think we sort of view it the same way because not exactly, but sort of, because the way I view it is Black is not just a race, it's a state of mind for me.
Yes.
So
yes.
if your mentality isn't Black, then if someone were to date a Black person that we view as what they call a coon or someone who's against their people, then you're canceled. You're viewed the same way. Yeah, the person, they're Black, but their ideology isn't Black, and their ideology isn't for their people. So you can date someone like we brought up Eunice Rivers, or someone who a Black woman who lies, who has a history of lying on Black men. Or there have been, different lawyers and lawmakers who are Black, but they are to the detriment of their people. So if I were to see someone who is Black dating a Black person like that, then it's like, "Whoa, snatch your card!" Like you're not viewed the same way as well. Like there's several variables that go into this, like nuance, like you said. So it's the nuance to it, but I do know, like, my whole thing of it is they're not going to be viewed the same way as if if we see them with like if you were to, God forbid, I hit my head, you wake up, you see Dr. James with a white woman, a snow bunny, but I'm no longer viewed the same way as Black supremacy, Dr. William James, the author, the advocate in the Black community,
that's
for
reality.
the Black community, that way. If the second, my main audience, the what I care about the most in addressing is the Black man and Black woman and Black child. What would be the first thing that Black women say against me if I chastise them, if I offer information against them?
Your wife ain't even Black.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it come with the territory.
So
Yeah.
it's like you are automatically, basically, if you know that fact, you're choosing at that point to eliminate yourself from Black discussions to a degree, because you know that that's going to be the main counter, and they're going to be like, he don't even want a woman that look like his mama. He don't love his mama. He don't. It's like they're choosing. You're choosing to a degree to eliminate it, which is why, off the simple fact, I have no attraction to a non-Black woman. I just wouldn't choose to eliminate myself in that aspect.
Wait. Hold on now. So, non-Black Latino woman, you don't have no attraction for?
Non-Black Latino? Give an example of non-Black Latino, because Latina, Haitians are Latina, Dominicans are Latina, Brazilians Latina. Those are all Black women.
Oh yeah, well yeah, okay, I get what you're saying, because there's definitely more white passing ones and ones that clearly have that. Okay,
we know that the slave ships went to the Caribbean.
Yeah,
we know that they went to South America. Those are just Black women that speak a different language. So Hispanic, we know that just you come from a Spanish speaking country. Latina means you come from Latin America. Those is Black women.
Yes.
I look at them as, I would look at you as a Black woman, and then I could dive deeper. What is your father? Some of them come, oh, my father was from Spain. He met my mom in Dominican. Okay, you're white.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, because I always ask them, like, what is your race? All right, that's your ethnicity. What is your race? So just like a Haitian, you're Haitian, that's your ethnicity. But what is your race? You're Black. You're a Black Latina. Just like a Dominican woman who shares the same island. You know, y'all just colonized by two different countries. So, but yeah,
listen, man, it definitely makes it easier. Having come out of that last relationship and now being in this one, and make it like I will never deny the reality of how society, or really Black society, is going to treat you.
What relationship?
I like I said, I was with a Belarusian in my last relationship. Yeah.
Oh, you and now you with
Black. HBCU.
Yeah, so you're done. So you don't gotta worry about it.
Yeah, but it's the whole cancelization thing. But for me, I'm not a denial. I don't deny reality. I don't deny the culture. I know that how society, specifically Black culture and Black society, is going to treat me. I know for a fact that if I was still in that last relationship or in a different relationship than the one with a Black woman, exactly what you said would have happened. And I could have said the same points, believed the same things, and moved the same way. But because I wasn't with a Black woman, for many people, this is why I said from the beginning about my first primary stance when it comes to my relationship with truth is just asking if it is true. And then working my way down from who's saying it and how it was said. But I think what I'm basically saying is I think there's a space for people who are in interracial relationships that can speak on Black issues and Black related challenges. My concern is that the people who don't put truth as the primary first thing of importance, but who are you with? That determines whether or not what you got to say is worth listening to. I think that that's dangerous territory. I think that that's dangerous territory because there's people who are doing good and doing right and living righteously. Take out the religious component, whose lifestyle in terms of who they're with, just because we don't, from preference and personal standpoint, would agree with doing it, that person can give amazing opportunities to you. That person could be connected to some powerful people. Those people could change some things. And I think with the very, very few allies we actually have over here, I think we be doing ourselves a disservice to keep cutting off. Well, you not married, so you can't talk, and you ain't with the right type of woman, so you can't talk. Like, let's start with truth first, and then with lifestyle. And if we start with truth, we start with lifestyle, and then for those who care about it, who are they with? I think we can receive and get and collaborate with people that we are more like-minded in a whole host of other areas than doing the reverse, which is, all right, let's start with who you with. And then, do I like who you with? And then, is what you saying true? Like, I'm in the camp where I think we got to reverse that priority personally.
No, I'm definitely a truth seeker, a truth teller, but it goes back to what we was talking about before when we talked about these different podcast speakers and people out there running the circuit, especially the some of the popular females doing it. What is their lived experience? What do we see from them? Like, yeah, they're telling the truth, and you can accept their talking points. That's truthful. Like, yeah, that's true. That's objectively true. I don't like. They said 2 + 2 is 4. That's right. But just when it comes up to their lifestyle, also what I said about, is there hypocrisy there? Is there contradiction there? Is there an element there that doesn't quite add up or make sense? And we saw that a lot with Kamala Harris. She talks all of this blackity black. I went to a HBCU. What is she? AKA? What is she?
AKA, I think. Yeah.
Her sorority and all of this stuff that she brings up, and then everybody look at that, and then the first thing they do be like, yeah, but who did you marry? So when she and then when
and that's the strangest, bro. That's but how about this? How come? But what you just said about Serena and what you said about all these other people, about how that negates their blackness and knocks them down with the black community, I ain't hear none of that this past election cycle when she was married to a white man. I ain't hear zilch about.
You heard it from people who are consistent.
Yeah, I'm sure you're the different, but
there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the black community.
Exactly, because and this is what I mean when I say we pick and choose. I'm going to argue for what you're saying. As true as it might be to a degree with Serena, it wasn't true for Kamala, and I actually think the standard is higher for black men that are in interracial relationships than black women. Personally, I think that the reactions, the responses, the anger and vitriol tends to be stronger for black men in interracial relationships than black women.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is. Because what was it? It was like 92% of black women voted for.
Still got behind her. Now,
voted for her?
Yes. Now, question. Now, ask
that point. See that right there says a lot about the black woman in the community.
Yes. Now, hear me out with that.
Been Barack Obama, not with Michelle, but with what's a white name?
No,
not with a Michelle Obama, but with a little Becky Lynn.
Yeah, Becky Lynn.
They would have never voted for Obama.
How about this? If you grabbed Kamala Harris and you swapped her gender, and everything else was exactly the same, his policies, the stances, the speaking, the talking points, and he was with a white woman running in 2024, what would the percentage of black folks that were shaming and attacking others and saying you gotta get behind him, you gotta support him, would the percentage have been 92% or 29% from black women?
That number would have flipped. That would have been 29%. If that. Black women would have been angry out there.
You know, so it's this weird thing. And the crazy thing is what I'm saying, everybody knows it is true. Everybody knows it is true. Y'all know that if a black man running for office with a white woman as his wife, y'all wouldn't have been raising this $1 billion with the sororities and the churches, and we got to come together to support this brother. Y'all wouldn't even be referring to him as a brother.
Absolutely not. See, that's what I'm saying.
But that was not a factor for her.
And why do you think that is, though?
Because I said that we have higher standards as a culture for those that feel this way, for black men that date out than black women that do.
But all right, but change the political party too. Do you think it would have been different if Kamala was running as
Republican? Yep. I think absolutely it wouldn't have been the same turnout. I think that the percentage would have flipped. I don't even know if she would have got. Yes. If Kamala Harris was running as a Republican in 2024, she would have gotten about 30% of the black female vote max.
See that shows, because I agree with you, and that shows the cognitive dissonance. Because it's not just her race.
Yeah.
If you have a black woman who's running as a Democrat, a
Mm-hmm.
Democrat, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it goes to the feminist movement and
Yep.
misandry.
Yep.
A lot of that goes to it too. They like, oh, this gonna be the first female president, and she just so happened to be so-called black. She identifies as black or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We want her in office.
She Indian. Let's hold on now. It's the election over. We can say she Indian, right? We allowed to say that now, right?
Hey, I didn't see when she was the DA and all of that stuff. I saw her get elected as it says something as the first Asian American or Indian
American. I
And then
saw
I'm
it
like,
very
all of a
fast.
sudden, when she became a political candidate, it became Black American woman. And it
How
was,
your mom and dad Indian and you come out black? I never heard that a day in my life.
you know what did it for me? When I saw her talking, I forgot who was the host. And she said, when you have these family members who aren't really black, but they're like, I mean, who aren't really family, but they're like family, you got these aunties, uncles. I said, no. Because you're trying to be slick now. It's like when you got that friend you real cool with, and you cool with, you call him your brother, but it ain't your brother. She has black family members who are like family, but they're not really family. So she's using that. Girl.
So when Candace Owens exposed her supposedly black grandmother, who wasn't a black woman, and first of all, we all knew she wasn't black when she mentioned the collard greens. Come on now?
When she talked about washing them in the tub?
Washing collard greens in the bathtub? Come on now?
Girl,
like,
you need to hold on.
Y'all was attacking other people's blackness because they wouldn't support an Indian woman married to a white man.
And Candace Owens is a good contrast because because she's like a conservative. They always talk about how she's married to a white man, but y'all went out there and voted for Kamala en masse, and she is too.
No issue.
So you got to keep that same energy. Don't just bring that up as a way to bash her. If you didn't use that to bash Kamala,
they never will. And like you said, it's because of cognitive dissonance, political partisanship, and likability. If she in the HBCU and she talk a certain way and talking about collard greens and letting Glorilla and what's her name twerk at the presidential Meg Thee Stallion twerk for us, that apparently she checked off all the boxes.
Which the black community should have viewed that as an insult.
Me and you are going to have another one of these, and we're going to do a whole session just on politics alone and the state of the black community politically and where we need to be going forward.
That's what we got to do, man.
Yeah,
man. That's what this is about.
Yeah. All right. So I've held you for far longer than I should have.
Man, I could talk to you all night, brother.
Listen, you know what it is?
This is good build, and it's good to talk to another intellectual black brother who, we have so much in common, the discipline and everything, and the way we see. It's clear we both want what's best for the black community. We're both thinkers. We want people to think and be able to defend themselves in an objective manner, display emotional intelligence. And that's just what I feed off of. That's what it's really about.
Listen, I appreciate you. It was an honor of you being my first guest on this platform and show. The fact that you even referred to me as an intellectual is an honor, man. Like before this podcast thing, I don't think people realize how few people agreed with me and thought I was very stupid in my life. So it's been kind of strange to go from most people disagree with me on everything and I'm not allowed to bring up or talk about certain points to now like I can have these type of convos and people actually think I got something worth saying. It's so bizarre, man. Because I'm not in the academic circles. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? After I finish school, I just like to read and watch documentaries. And then there's just very few people I guess I can talk to about these things. So I really appreciate you doing this with me, man.
Nah, you're definitely an intellectual. I don't know who those people are, but people disagree with me all the time. But it's a matter of what's rooted in fact and the type of discussion we can have, and for people being honest. Like I said, I'm not a stubborn individual. When someone presents me with facts, data, statistics, information I can't refute, then I change my stance.
Same.
So it's the people who disagree with me when I know I'm saying something objective or I'm coming from a place. It's not just my opinion. My opinion is supported by facts, data, statistics, history, observable truths. Yeah, you can think whichever way you want about me, but a lot of times it's like we were saying before, it's like it's people's emotions, and it can sometimes it overwhelms them. They
Yeah.
don't they can't be honest or stay true or stand on business about what they say because of the way they feel. But your facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah,
So
man. So listen, like I said before, bro, it genuinely was an honor. I really do consider you a brother in the intellectual space for sure. You're doing great things with the work you're doing. You gotta get me trained up and ready to write this book. So I definitely will be bothering you about that. So real quick, why don't you let the people know where they can find you on various social media platforms and how they can support you?
all right, Dr. William James. The best place to find me is Dr. Will James on Instagram, but you definitely need to go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Will James Reports. That's Dr. Will James Reports. Definitely trying to grow that and have more discussions like I'm having right now with my brother, Jeff St. James. Definitely trying to do that, push out more content. You could look at Dr. Will James on TikTok. You could order my book on Amazon, Black Supremacy, Dr. William Dion James, on Amazon.com. And just be on the lookout for more content, more interviews, as we both, take over the airways of YouTube and have these meaningful discussions and bring meaningful information to the people.
Appreciate it, man. So if you are still in this chat or if you come across it later tonight or tomorrow or later in the week, please like it, please share it. And I'm asking every person that sees this to send it to three people you know, three people that you think would value these conversations. Our goal is to raise the bar of what our communication can be in this community. We're pushing each other to learn. We're doing the book club on my channel. Dr. Will, I'm sure, is going to be starting to do a virtual book club on his channel pretty soon. And the hope and goal, we've made every other trend, big. Trends over crazy stuff, fashion, music. How about we start to make using this the new trend? So thank y'all for your time. Again, sir, it was an honor, and I can't wait to for us to do this again.
Likewise, brother.
All right, y'all. Enjoy your time, and God brother, or rather God son, out. Peace, y'all.